Hi, this is Patrick with DG Miller. Uh, Not hearing any audio on the Zoom. Oh, we're getting a lot of feedback.
And the people say they
No,
No.
maybe if Lines.
You left. Right now. It could.
Yeah, but I'm not, you can hear out there when I'm talking. Test.
That sounded better.
We good? Yeah, I can hear Patrick fine.
Yeah, you guys sound good right now.
I just have sharing capabilities again. Yeah. Please, thank you. Yep. I think we got it sorted out. All right, whenever you're all ready, you can. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so I'll just give a brief overview of the project. So my name is Matt Mahaley. I'm here at Delaware River Solar. I also have my colleague Brian Dunleavy with Delaware River Solar as well, and our civil engineer Usman Chaudhry from PW Grosser. We're here to discuss the 5 megawatt AC solar project located off of Morris Road. So first I'll talk a little bit about community solar, then I'll go into the project specifics, and then I'll wrap it up with some project benefits that the project will um, propose. So community solar is a program that's enacted by the state. It allows residents in the NYSEG region or the same utility territory as a solar project to subscribe to the local farm and save money on their utility bill, usually in the form of 5 to 10% annual savings. The project is located, as I mentioned, off of Morris Road. There's a 5 megawatt solar project. We are proposing single axis trackers, so the panels will track the sun from east to west. There is no battery storage proposed for the project. Inside the fenced area is approximately 27.5 acres. We are proposing to interconnect off of Morris Road to a 3-phase feeder that'll come down from Peruville Road. We would actually be reconductoring a single phase line off of West Malloryville Road in order to interconnect our project to the grid. We have a full interconnection study completed by NYSEG. We also have entered into a utility agreement with them that outlines the process for interconnecting the facility. We were originally proposing to come down Morris Road on the other side of the project, and that was a suggestion to move it from the planning board. So this new path eliminates any unnecessary tree clearing and other visual impacts. So in addition to an interconnection study, we have completed a wetland delineation for the project site, and we have located DEC wetlands. We are proposing no impacts to these wetlands. We adhere to a 100-foot buffer as well on the project site. We have completed a phase 1 environmental assessment, which shows there are no environmental concerns with the property. We have a no impact letter from the FAA, and we also have a no impact letter from the State Historic Preservation Office. Moving on to some project benefits. So from the town's perspective, the project owner will contribute to the overall tax revenue of the town, furthering the economic needs and goals of the town of Dryden. The project, as mentioned, also can provide subscriber savings and benefits to the local residents within the NYSEG region. And overall, it's a quiet neighbor. It's going to bring minimal traffic to the area, and it's just going to sit there and produce clean energy. From a landowner perspective, the landowner is able to exercise their property rights. They are currently using it for agricultural purposes. However, we are also leaving 2 fields for the landowner to continue using for agricultural purposes. So it's a good dual use of the property. And overall, that's a basic summary of the project. Just to add to that, I'm happy to address any public comments or concerns. Just to recap as well, we've been in front of the town reviewing this application since April of this year. We've been to a few planning board meetings where they proposed recommendations and other suggestions to our layout, which we had adhered to, and we actually think they've improved the project. We've also been through several reviews of TG Miller review letters where we were addressing comments from our SWIP, operation and maintenance plan and decommissioning plan. And we feel we've addressed a large number of those comments. And additionally, we've received the County 239M referral letter stating that the project would have no countywide impact or intercommunity significant impact as well. If the board is comfortable, we respectfully request that the public hearing tonight would be closed, a secret determination to be made, and as mentioned, if the board is comfortable, respectively, we would also request that the board vote on the overall project approval. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to the board and the public. Thank you.
Okay, then, so I think, Patrick, did you want to add anything or?
Yeah, certainly. For those of you that I have not met, my name is Patrick King. I'm with TG Miller, and we also act as the town of Dryden engineer. So as the applicant team has suggested, this project was initially submitted in April, and we've been back and forth on site design, looking for compliance to zoning regulations, adherence to New York State SWIP guidelines, as well as going through the FEAF and assisting with the seeker determination as well. You know, as the team brought up, a lot of our comments had to do with the SWIP and stormwater runoff through the site. You know, there is some significant grading throughout the project site just to get it within the 10% or less for the solar installation. So part of our comments were, how are we going to address offsite runoff as well as runoff through the site? We feel like they've adjusted their modeling to show that the change in land cover type, in addition to permanent stormwater practices, does get that runoff rate below existing conditions. So it will have less of an impact or no impact to the wetlands to the west. Happy to answer, any of the town's concerns or clarification in any areas regarding the FEAF, stormwater site plan, as well as the process to how we got to where we are today.
Thanks, Patrick. Just a broad question, and maybe for you as well. I've been watching this project as part of the planning board meetings, and can you just tell us why you picked this spot? Just 10,000-foot picture. Why'd you pick Morris Road? Why'd you pick Dryden for this project?
The biggest factor in terms of siting community solar project would be the interconnection grid. So, there's limited capacity, and it just so happens that in this area, NYSEG does have capacity to host a 5 megawatt community solar project. So after we determined there was significant capacity from the substation and feeder level, we initiated, letters to landowners within the area, which are of sites that we felt would be good for solar projects. And from there, the landowners of this parcel were interested, and we entered into a lease agreement and, did our due diligence on the site, and ultimately determined that this was a good location for the project, and move forward with the permitting process.
Did the fact that we already had some solar kind of encourage you?
Yeah, that as well.
I didn't even realize we were solar friendly, probably. But the proximity to the substation makes the connection a lot cheaper as well, right? Being so close to Peruville Road.
Yeah, we do, like I mentioned, we do have a feasible interconnection study. So yes, yeah.
And we'll get pilot revenue from this, so then the town gets a compensation through payment in lieu of taxes, which is.
And also just to throw this out there, there is a tax assessment model throughout that was passed from a New York state level, so that allows the local assessor to utilize this model to kind of evaluate the tax revenue of the project as well. So it's just another way to propose tax revenue from that sense. So there's either the tax assessment model or the pilot agreement that we would consider. So I just wanted to also add that out there.
I wasn't aware of that. We have a IDA that has developed a pilot, a model pilot. I believe it's used for all solar now in Tompkins County. We would just defer to that.
Yeah,
I guess whichever gets more revenue for the town. I hate to tell you, but that's probably we'll go. We don't tax the overall value of it. But I don't think it's unreasonable either. And the school district's the one that gets the most benefit out of this. So you're welcome, Dryden Central School District.
Yeah, dude, I do have some residents here. Would you have a shoot, is there a mic set up?
we can move on.
Yeah, if you could just let them come on, because that way everybody could hear your questions, yeah. You're able to, yeah.
I'm a resident on North Shore, and I just want to get familiar with the map there. It looks like you are going to run the line from the solar field out to Morris Road, and then where are you going to connect on to the power lines? Is it going to be to go up West Maryville?
Yeah, and then I can show you better pictures.
Not drawn map, it shows where the upgrades are coming. Connecting right across the road there. onto an existing pole. Then running it through that field.
Yeah, if, yeah, I mean, we need, right, can we get another mic out?
That is, I don't think we'll see the light right now, but it used to be orange section of the line. Down from Brewville.
Brewville too, yeah.
It was down in the. It goes in the Florida project, which also in the blue. That's the existing line that you might say is proposing upgrade for this project. Okay.
Yeah,
So that section of line would look very similar to the line that is currently on Brewville Road right now. There'd be up, so single phase or upgrading.
They're gonna skirt along, there's an open field, you're gonna skirt along the edge of that, up through, Forest Road to limit the number of pieces that take out. That's what the
Yes, the other option that we were initially, when we came to town, planning board with initially, is coming down Morris Road, see where the purple line is. That's actually, distance from, Tapper, and that shows the existing lines. We're sure there's actually no existing line.
Right, yeah, most of the houses are up.
Yeah.
Improved side over.
We can bring a conversation. Oh, sure. So initially, we were gonna bring it down Morris, but because of the forested character of that road, the planning board expressed some concern about changing that, and so we.
Go closer to the, yeah.
Brought us to,
People on Zoom want to hear the conversation,
Okay.
so we're trying to draw you guys into the mic so that Zoom in, people can hear.
So the guys from, Delaware, why don't you use the middle mic and then,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I-
Jerry, Jerry.
I was just interested in the, how you're getting the power from the solar field up to the grid, and I see you're following, going along, West Maryville.
Correct, yeah, so as Brian was mentioning, we were originally proposing to come down off of Provo Road, down Morris Road, which would require a whole new circuit build and yep, and then some tree clearing along that as well. The planning board expressed their concern with that, so we took a closer look, realized that we could potentially come down West Malloryville Road, as there's already existing infrastructure, single phase line. We proposed this to NYSEG. They came back with a updated interconnection study, and it came back feasible. So they would be reconductoring that single phase line from Malloryville Road down West Malloryville Road in order for our project to connect.
And then you're connecting to the Brewville substation?
Yes.
Okay, when I saw that that the town had given approval for the Morris Road project, but had turned down the one for Caswell Road, and I thought, well, Caswell Road, the Caswell dump would have been a perfect cycle one. So I did a little more research and found out that it was due to the upgrade you'd have to do to the substation in order to do that project, so.
Yeah.
That was my understanding as well. Substantial upgrades to the grid was what prohibited that project from moving
So we
forward.
don't have to do that, so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, the Caswell one fell under its own weight, I guess. It hadn't even reached us yet. So.
Thank you.
We're gonna have it there for 20 years.
Oh, and of course, different people have told me that one question you should ask is, what about end of life for the solar field? You guys have provisions for disposing of the panels when at end of life?
Yes, we have submitted a decommissioning plan that outlines, the proper triggers of decommissioning the facility and how we would go about decommissioning the site to return it to its former state. We would also enter into a decommission agreement with the town that would set forth a financial security that would be used to decommission the facility during a triggering event. So.
New York State is currently actively working to update the waste requirements for solar panels to ensure that they're properly handled. And the draft expectation is currently that they will become universal waste. So that they will be very appropriately and cannot be left behind or buried or anything like that. So what that's for is that the state laws are catching up to technology on 20 years from now, though, the tech will be likely changed
we hope that,
anytime, so.
currently these solar panels are rated to last around, 30 years usually. So that's kind of around what our lease looks like. And even that, they're showing that they can even last even longer and still produce a adequate amount of energy past that point. So yeah, the tech is very good on that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and in the posted documents, there, you can find the decommissioning plan with the, from the bond value for that. It's on that plan's under appendix 2 of the decommissioning plan.
Do you want me to pull it up or?
Yeah, I mean, I can show it too, because I have it on my screen. I just need to. Yeah, that's what it is. Zoom in. So it's. And then Ray, you had said we only got the EA and the FEAF forms was it this week? Okay. Let me stop share. Did anyone else in the room have questions about this or comment or anything? And then how about folks on Zoom? If you had a question or comment and you're listening on Zoom, just unmute and you just ask what you wanted to ask. If none, what about anybody else on the board right now?
So I had all my questions answered at all the planning board meetings and you guys were very, forthcoming. I know they put you through the ringer. In a good way. So when your solar becomes available, will our residents get a special mailing like this? And then what will be the name of the company marketing this?
It will be our sister company, Meadow. So they handle subscriber acquisition of the community solar farms that we develop. So they would handle the acquisition of this project. So they would be, marketing in the NYSEG area to facilitate subscribers to this project. So it's
Usually they're in proximity of the field, right? So it would be in 20-mile radius, 30, 50?
Actually, anyone who's in the utility zone
In the ice, oh, right.
technically subscribe to this, but since they want, local people see it, they want to subscribe to it. But yeah, we are actually I believe the only New York State developer that has an in-house customer subscriber team as well. So they'll be actually setting up.
definitely target driving residents first before subscribing to other NYSEG customers is something, they would do.
Can you give them an extra bonus since we're the host?
I'm not certain. I know the typical ranges from 5 to 10%, but I am not quite certain how that would.
I only asked because the Solar Farms New York did that when I asked, and they wound up saying yes, and so they gave our town residents 10% off. Since we're the host community, and everyone else from outside the area that works with Solar Farms New York gets 5%. So it makes us feel special.
You can certainly
definitely ask.
See.
It's not unprecedented. That's the reason I'm bringing it up.
Understood.
So, right, what? I mean, you had said, talked before the meeting about since those the FEAFs only were only posted this week. Um. I guess, many people didn't have, at least the public wouldn't have had time to look at it. Um. So, yeah, I think we can just keep it open just for till the first meeting of, November, but, yeah. And then that'll allow more comment in case if there is any. Yeah, yeah, because I don't think we need to go beyond that. Yep. Is that gonna impact any, I mean, well, because we're probably gonna have another night for the budget public hearing too.
Mhm.
Um. No, it'll be the week before that. Yeah, unless we somehow got it before the election, but I don't think that'll happen.
My only comment with the EAF is we've submitted, revisions to it, but I do not believe they were substantial enough, to substantially change the document, but the EAF has been available to the public since we first submitted the project, application. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So what happens next?
Well, if we keep it, we can either close it tonight and then go through this, but we only did the part 2 and 3 documents we only received this week from TG Miller.
And they haven't had enough.
Well, the public hasn't seen it, hasn't even had it for a week. So.
All right, now some people could complain about that, even though
Yeah.
we're more familiar with it ourselves.
Yeah.
Is that do you guys understand
Yeah,
what we're up against? Yeah, I know you put in a lot of time on
Yeah.
this. But
Um.
we just got those, what day did we get them?
What day did they come in, Ray? Like. The FEAF, she said that just came in this week. Yeah. So.
so the next meeting would be November
14, that's the, yeah.
and the public hearing you said would be left open.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really in case anyone puts in written comments or, we'll close it on the 14th, but. Between now and then, people can put in written comments.
We've had a lot of solar in this town and people want their opportunity to voice their opinion on it. We don't want to, sound like we're rushing a process ever. As much as we want to see the solar, we want to give people who have other views adequate time to voice their opinion.
Absolutely. We understand.
And TG Miller would be more than willing to walk through the part 3 attachment, each line item, if the town board would like that on the 14th.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yep. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just continue it at 6:05 on the 14th. This will be the first order of business. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
So next up, we have a presentation from Liza Berger of Lifelong.
Cassie had told me that you had the presentation and that you're probably
Yeah.
supposed to kind of.
Yeah, I can share that.
Okay, that's great.
I like to be purple. I don't mind purple.
He's got the aurora going on his camera. So.
So right.
Reminds me of some past times. Good.
All right.
All set?
Yep, we're all set. Yeah.
So, hi, everybody. I'm Liza Berger. I'm the Executive Director at Lifelong. If you're not familiar with us, our main branch is located in Ithaca. We have a community center there for adults 50 and older on Court Street, but we also serve the whole county. And we've been expanding our programs and our services. And so I've been taking some time to go around and meet both with town boards, with senior centers, with just different groups of individuals that might have some interest in participating in some of our programs. So next slide. We are a small but mighty staff. We only have 8 people who work at Lifelong, one of whom is a seasonal position for our tax program. And we have a number of committed volunteers also who serve us. Next slide. As I mentioned, we do serve adults 50 and older. However, many of the folks that use our services are retired and are older than 50. In the US, an estimated 1 in 4 people over 65 has experienced social isolation. We've all seen that with the pandemic ourselves. As people age, they tend to spend more time alone. And studies are showing that loneliness and isolation can certainly contribute to a higher risk for health problems. So we're living longer, and many of us have been given a gift of time. So one of the hopes for our programs is to really embrace that time and use it wisely and enjoy it. Next slide. So what do we provide? We are a membership-based organization. So we have a sliding scale for our annual membership, anywhere from $20 to $40 per year for individuals and $35 to $70 for couples. Our programs or classes can be free, or there may be a cost. We do have funding for some of our grant-funded programs we're able to offer for free. And we do have scholarship funds that are available thanks to the Triad Foundation. So no one is turned away. We always find ways to pay for individuals to participate in any way that they would like. And I'm going to go through just briefly the programs that we offer. Next slide. First, as far as the benefits of our membership, one of the things that we've started to promote a lot is also an access to a virtual senior center. So anyone who's a member of Lifelong can sign up for this. And these are programs that are offered throughout the year, hundreds of programs, everything you can imagine that an individual just needs to have their computer to access this. We also have personalized tech support by appointment from a volunteer that assists people with everything from managing your smartphones to picking out your next laptop. We have discounts in terms of things like the Cornell concert series, 25% off at the Y. We have a travel program that we've collaborated with Colette on so that people can participate as members of Lifelong. I will say that 11% of our members right now live in Dryden, and we've begun expanding programs in this area because we're noticing that people are interested in participating either virtually or coming into our programs. Next slide. So our lifelong learning programs are volunteer-led classes with different instructors. These are semester-based classes, so they change every semester 3 times a year. We have a spring, fall, and summer semester. And we'll try anything once. We've had everything from ukulele classes to classes on politics and history and book writing. We even tried an online dating class this semester, so that was interesting. These, again, are all volunteer-led programs. And for example, this semester alone, we had over 50 different classes that we organized for folks. The instructors volunteer their time to share their knowledge and skills, and they are offered a $40 credit to participate in other programs at Lifelong. And again, there are scholarships for individuals to attend if they would like to. Next slide. Our lifelong activities, these are paid instructors for programs that we run year round. So folks attend on a drop-in basis for $5, and they can pay a monthly fee of $35 to attend as many programs as they would like for that month. We have health and wellness activities. You can see the different offerings that we have there, as well as creative arts programs. Again, these are paid instructors, and we have folks who teach both at Lifelong as well as outside of our main building. Next slide. We have informal groups that meet on a drop-in basis at Lifelong. Right now, we have 16 groups that are running year-round. These are just a drop-in basis. In addition to the ones that are listed here, we have a walking group that meets April through October and a ladies senior golf program that meets in the summer months. Next slide. I mentioned the collaboration that we have with Colette Travel. The photos here are from a group that had a fabulous trip to Costa Rica through Lifelong's travel program. Travelers are picked up right at Lifelong, and everything is arranged for them. So their main focus is just to relax and enjoy their trip. And this is an example of some of the trips that we have done for Lifelong members. Next slide. In addition, we've had day trips that we're organizing. This is something that we started up just last year again, since pandemic times. These are things that are more accessible to a lot of people rather than the bucket list trips, but we've had really good response with this. We've met with individuals that are interested in doing more day trips and not having to drive, and we handle all the details for this. And then we've been collaborating with other senior groups to offer some things. Just yesterday, we were on the MVTL. We chartered the boat. We thought it was going to rain, but it turned out to be a beautiful, beautiful day. And we had about 50 people who joined us for that. Next slide. Lifelong's Mosaic program is something that we collaborate with the Office for the Aging on. This is a grant-funded program that focuses on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So these offerings are free and open to the public. So Lifelong membership is not required, but we also focus on a lot of different cultures to have people experience the diversity of our community. Next slide. One of the things you may have seen is that Library Place, which is a senior complex that was built next to Lifelong. It used to be where the Tompkins County Public Library was a long time coming. And we really had to advocate for this, but we now have an occupancy agreement with them for their community room. So it's fantastic because this allows us to do larger groups. We've had live bands in there, dancing parties. We held our annual luncheon there in May. So it's really given us the space to be able to provide some bigger events. Next slide. One of our cornerstone programs is the HICAP program. It stands for Health Insurance Information Counseling and Assistance Program. This offers free Medicare counseling for individuals. We have about a dozen counselors who have passed an exam and shadowed other individuals so that they can help people navigate their Medicare coverage, make sure that they're saving on medications and their copays and deductibles. This is our busiest time with this program. It's offered year round. However, the fall open enrollment just started on October 15th, runs through December 7th. So I call it open season on Medicare. It allows you to make changes in your coverage. And 12% of the folks receiving our Medicare counseling this past year were from Dryden. Next slide. The other cornerstone program we have is our free tax preparation program. So this is for anyone 60 and older, regardless of their income, as well as anyone under 60 who has a disability or who meet the income criteria for this program. We do get some funding from the IRS for this program. However, it doesn't pay anything for the person who actually coordinates the 30 volunteers who run this program. So this is where my seasonal staff person comes in. We have around 30 volunteers, many of whom have done tax preparation for some of them for like 25 years. We typically do over 900 returns between the end of January through mid-April every year. 10% of the taxpayers that we served in our program last year were from Dryden. And we did notice an increase in taxpayers. We wanted to start a satellite site for our tax program so we could reach more individuals. So this past year, we decided to offer that at the Southworth Library. So it's been really successful. Next slide. Another program that we offer is called Volunteers Connected, and we reach out to many different nonprofits in the county to ask if people are looking for volunteers. We have a booklet that we've developed to help people who are looking for volunteer opportunities to connect with those folks. And every spring, we also offer a volunteer fair so people can come and actually meet the individuals that are looking for programming. Next slide. So how are we funded? As I mentioned earlier, our membership fees are based on a sliding scale. Our program fees vary with scholarship funds so that cost is not a barrier to participation. And our program fees also support our mission. We've historically been really heavily grant funded, and we're really grateful for that support from our funders. However, relying on grants is a challenge for any nonprofit, and we're competing with other nonprofits for those funds. So they're definitely not guaranteed. We have a lot of supporters who believe in the work that we do and are able to contribute something through recurring or one-time funds. One of the reasons that I'm here today is to just help people learn about the work that we do. And I've been reaching out to different town boards to see about supporting our mission moving forward. You can see on here on this slide, I don't know if you can read it, but the town of Ithaca provides $9,000 a year to us. 18% of lifelong members are from the town, 27% use the tax service, and 18% come for Medicare support. The town of Ulysses donates $3,000 per year to Lifelong. They're also a satellite tax program for us. They have 5% of Lifelong members and 10% use our tax service and 12% Medicare. And Dryden, as I mentioned, there 11% of Lifelong members come from this area. 10% use our tax service and 12% come for Medicare counseling. Next slide. So these are just a few things that we're trying to expand and moving forward. We have been doing some more things remotely through hybrid methods so that we can hopefully reach more individuals who are in the younger 50 to 65 range. As I mentioned, the community room at Library Place has allowed us to do a lot more events. We've collaborated with Love Living at Home, with GX Seniors, with the Office for the Aging. We've also collaborated with places like Southworth Library to be able to offer our tax program. We've significantly expanded our benefits to members. I did also recently get a grant from New York State, so we're doing some capital improvements to our building, including all new windows, LED lights, some more energy efficient things, as well as some things to enhance our accessibility to folks. And we're working on additional evidence-based programming. So that's really what I have today. I just wanted to introduce people to us. Our website is tclifelong.org. So if you're not familiar with us or you're interested in learning more about our classes and services, I'd really encourage you to do so. And I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have.
So currently our Ulysses and the town of it kind of goes to currently the only towns that contribute.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How long have they contributed?
Ulysses, I mean, I've been here since 2018. And they started out donating only $1,000 and they bumped it up to $3,000. That was a year and a half ago. I think the town of Ithaca has been giving for a long time. And I believe, when I first reached out to you, Jason, that I had found some files that I believe that Dryden had also contributed something at some point. I don't know when that was and what happened with that. Oh, a long time ago. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A contract.
Well, yeah, anytime we give funds to an organization, it's gotta be a contract.
So with the Southworth Library, we have a contract.
Yeah.
How many years did we contribute?
It's just like,
Yeah.
it's not very long.
Okay.
So those contributions on that pie chart you showed, does that constitute part of the 55% of your revenue, the municipal contributions, or is that other donations on that pie chart?
I have to look up my chart again. Let me check here.
And my overall
The
question.
grants, the 55%?
Yeah.
That is all of our grant funding, including, foundation grants.
But would town of Ithaca be under that category?
Yes, it would.
Okay. And do you receive state money or county money as
We
well?
receive county money.
No state?
No, well, except for this award that I just got for the capital improvements.
What about the city?
Yeah, what about the city?
We do not have funding from the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're taking this presentation there, I assume.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going all over the place, so, yeah. And, one of my goals is to really be able to be accessible to folks that are kind of on the outskirts, because the longer it takes to get into lifelong, I think the hard, sometimes people hesitate to make that trip in. So what can we do in terms of, in Lansing, for example, we're providing health and wellness activities at the Lansing Library. So is that something that Dryden folks want? Do they want something closer to them? We offer a lot of health and wellness. We have classes in Brooktondale, in Trumansburg, Jacksonville, Lansing. So just looking at some of those outskirts.
It's amazing what you do. I just want to say, it's amazing what you do.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a student team do a marketing project for you guys in 2018.
I've seen that.
Yeah, we were working with
Yeah.
Tom Butler.
Yeah. Okay.
Got to know more about what you're doing. I've
Yeah,
been there a few
yeah.
times.
Well, we've really bounced back since the pandemic and it's great to have more folks involved and we're excited about this capital project and the extra space, but, yeah, so if you hear from folks that are interested in having more in this area, I mean, it's hard to get the volunteer, instructors for those semester-based classes, but we always are looking to expand, especially the health and wellness. And we have some instructors that are willing to kind of take them to different areas.
What kind of outreach do you do, like to attract more residents from Dryden? And the library is one, but what other type of outreach?
Well, I mean, we just recently, maybe 6 months ago, hired a communications manager. So she's helped a lot in terms of, you know, social media type things. And I just printed off a whole bunch of postcards and things for our virtual senior center that I'm going to be putting out and about. We also advertise or put information in small newspapers that are related to the Ithaca Times. I can't remember what it's called,
Okay.
but Dryden has one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have things you wanted us to announce, just
Yeah.
send it to us towards the end of
Okay.
the month. And
Okay.
we'll get it in the
The newsletter.
newsletter, goes
Yeah.
out early in the month. I
Great.
don't know, do we ever run anything for lifelong? No, but we could, especially
We
with tax
can.
prep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That-
Yeah, well, I mean, our tax prep, we, in the end of December, beginning of January, we will mail postcards to everyone who's had their taxes done with us previously. Because especially last year, the VITA program, the volunteer income tax program was down for a year and a half, I think. And now it's starting up again, but it's taking them time to get caught up. So we picked up a lot of the excess from that program. And so since our funding from the IRS it's called tax counseling for the elderly. And so we have to have at least 65% of our taxpayers that we serve be over 60. So we're making sure that we're prioritizing older adults. Because we had a lot of folks that were previously seen by VITA who were younger and needed that service. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, let's see.
And take it, they have a formal request with us somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, it might have come in hard copy. But the amount we had like, previously contributed was 3,600, but that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
I know Liz Thomas was a big advocate. And
yeah,
Ulysses supervisor, her husband does the tax prep for her.
yeah. So, hey, that's something we can, and we already have that prior agreement, which covers, I think, everything that she was talking about already.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at it here. I can forward that to everybody so you can see what it was.
Be a nice thing to, I'm thinking if we were to put that in our newsletter and say, attention Dryden seniors, did you know? This service is available and it's one of the things that Dryden's proud to invest in for you. It'd be a pretty good message.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go on one of these trips.
I want the ukulele
I
lessons.
want you to let.
Ukulele?
I already have the ukulele. I just need to learn how to play it.
Yeah. I don't have one.
We know.
The guitar. And a lot of other toys.
It's next on our
All right, so next, we can just run through, we don't have, highway this week. Yeah, well, yeah, that'll get down. Well, we'll just get down to that in a second, so. Ray, is there anything more than the report?
Well, I just want to point out in various metrics that I give every month, the very top line is dwelling units per month. And usually we see a number of 2 or 3 in there. It's 30 this month, and that just reflects that we got all the gone after 1279 driving road, 28 units. Martin there. That's quite a big thing.
Yeah.
All right, and then Chris, is there anything new? You're just here for the fire stuff? Okay.
Any longer, so.
Yep, and
If
Mike,
anybody's got any questions, that's fine, but.
okay. Mike Lane was here last week, so. All right, so then we'll just move on to the resolutions. What was that?
Dave Park.
Oh, yeah, Dave. Yep, whoops.
Number 10. Sorry, Dave.
Forgot he's here with Zoom. Gonna make you a co-host.
Thank you.
Sorry, Dave. I got this time than last month, so that's good.
Pretty close. All right, I'm going to share my screen and hope everyone can hear me all right. All good so far?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. All right, so we had a really exciting September. This is the October report for basically everything that happened in September and a little bit of what already happened this month because we're 17 days into October. So this is the executive summary for what happened in September. As I've talked about the last few months since we were awarded the municipal infrastructure program in June, we were one of 5 projects awarded. Earlier, this actually in September, Empire State Development approved our partnership. And earlier this month, we received the grant disbursement agreement. This is the legal agreement we have with New York State that will allow us to actually submit our reimbursements and get our funding back. The first of those would happen, be submitted in December or very early January and be paid back to us sometime in the first quarter. We're expecting sometime in January or February, but maybe March. So we're moving forward with that. Next, we have applied for pre-qualification for BEAD funding. And this is as of last week. We heard a couple of days ago that our pre-qualification has been accepted. This has the same purpose as the MIP grant, which is to serve underserved and unserved homes. We believe we probably have covered 99% of the homes that are underserved or unserved with the MIP grant. However, if there are any that we find, or if people do go to the FCC website and mark that their homes are actually not served, even though FCC thinks they are, we could use this BEAD funding to provide additional funding to go in and build to those homes. It doesn't really cost us anything to apply for these. And if we are awarded them, then it gives us an opportunity to reduce the overall cost of construction. We're now able to serve 939 parcels, 1,146 households. This is about a 30% increase over where we were a month and a half ago. So we were around 600 parcels, 650 parcels, now we're at 900, so a huge increase. We turned those parcels green and immediately reached out to, I believe, like 40 customers are already pre-registered. So if you know people in town of Dryden and they're checking out the map, but they're not green yet, they're in the yellow. If they pre-register, the day that their parcels are in the green zone, our team will email and call them directly and say, hey, we can now schedule you for install. You already have their information because they've already pre-registered on the website. And that's helped us to move really quickly to continue to grow the network. As of October 1st, we had 126 paying customers, which was 36 new ones in September. That's our biggest month. We had 26 new customers in August. And we're already over 140 customers as of October 17th, with 22 in the installation queue as of right now, as of yesterday's meeting. So we're still growing pretty quickly and adding more green zone. One thing to note is we're talking about predictions. On August 1st, we said we would be at 100 customers by the end of the summer by 9/21. We're at 126 customers by 9/30. So we really blew past that goal. Our new estimates are to be at 200 by the end of the year and to be at that break even number 262 by March 31st. Finally, on this section, we've updated the map. It has two things to look out for. One is town of Caroline is now on the map. So if anyone who lives in the town of Caroline is interested in signing up, they can see where they are. They can see if they're in the orange zone, which means we'll get to them during the MIP timeline, which is between now and December 31st of 2026. It's just a way to help to show that Dryden Fiber is expanded, as well as adding street names and address numbers. So if you zoom in on the map, you'll see all the address numbers, all the street names. A lot of people don't know the town just visually of what the roads are. It helps to have the street names, so we've added that. And those two features were produced by our partners at Hunt Engineering. Any questions on this executive summary before I move on?
No, it looks good.
Okay. Let's see.
Great news on going faster than.
Yeah, it's really good. So this is the project highlights for the MIP project. We estimated that we would be moving into the red areas, which is part of the proposed network of MIP that's been funded with an 8 to 10 month lead time from when we apply for pole applications to put our fiber on telephone poles, the NYSEG owned poles that go through the southern half of the town of Dryden into the town of Caroline. It looks like we'll be hitting those deadlines sooner than 8 to 10 months. They're just turning around a lot faster. We think New York State is applying some prioritization to the team who is looking at these pole permits and saying, please go faster. We can't do any construction until we have pole permits. Having an 8 to 10 month time period in our plan reduced down to 4 to 6 months. It's just going to give us a lot more time to build the network over the next 2 years. So that's actually surprisingly ahead of schedule. Usually things in projects like this, they go long, we ask for extensions. We're in a good position right now. The next slide I shared about a month ago, which is our timeline summary. As of September 30th, we're at 126 live customers. The goal for the end of the year is 200. And then we look forward to the end of the first quarter, which is March 31st, the end of the first half of the year of next year. And by the end of next year, conservative numbers to be at about 1,000 live customers by the end of next year. We'll know more about what we think we can do by the end of this year, based on how much of the map turns green, as well as the uptake and how people are buying onto the network. Right now, it's very steady, so we feel good about these projections. The bottom half, the green zone projections, everything's in green on the map. I know it's small, is what is currently live. As of October 1st, yellow will be live by the end of the year, and blue by the end of June of 2025. And then orange is everything from the MIP grant going through the end of 2026. So we kind of see where we're going the next 2+ years.
Can we hope that the areas that are not colored in will be by end of year 2027, or is that too hopeful?
There's two factors for those. One is being on time for the MIP grant, the orange parts, which we feel good about. The second is the amount of work in some of those areas, especially the southwest corner of town, Ellis Hollow, Snyder Hill, Route 79, and that core area of Route 13. We probably could do those even sooner than the end of 2027. The question is, how much more do we want to bond out ahead of the project before we finish everything else from MIP? So we're going to get quotes for each of those segments. What would it cost to build out Ellis Hollow, Snyder Hill, Route 79, and that central Route 13 corridor? And then based on that, we'll come back to the town board and say, hey, we can reach those spaces by the end of 2026 or the end of 2027, but we would have to increase the amount that we've been planning on bonding per year to reach there too, beyond the MIP.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
One thing to note is that those unshaded areas do have a broadband service. It's the orange areas that either are unserved or underserved, or that are pathways to reaching parcels, homes that are unserved or underserved.
And that is a priority.
That's a priority now because the funding from New York State says we're going to give you $9 million as long as you go to these unserved and unserved homes. Where when it was our own choice to where we spend money, it would have been just branching out off the ring to where it makes most sense geographically. This has given us some really specific direction because of the funding.
Yeah, and people in those areas really need the service, so that's fantastic.
They do. We've got some substantial complaint and feedback letters from the public. A lot of them are in Caroline who are just like begging because their service either is non-existent or just disappears. Like they'll have it and it'll be gone for a week. There are some unserved and underserved homes in town of Dryden too, but the majority in the project are actually in town of Caroline.
Yeah, we have companies in this town that actually don't respond when the service goes out. You can call them, you can email them, and they're under no obligation to tell you what's going on. And sometimes you have to drive to your place of work in order to teach a class or I'm not going to name names.
Anecdotally, and you know this because you talk to our residents, this is true. We hear this from residents, especially ones who live in the McLean area.
Yeah. Not just McLean.
A couple of things, just things you might see around town. There are a lot of signs. In September, we finished the sign design, got them delivered, and last Monday I put out over 20 signs across town. These are in yards of customers. I emailed all the customers about 2.5 weeks ago. I said, if you want a sign, let me know. Within an hour, 15 of our customers wrote back and were like, yes, give me a sign. And then within last week, since then, about 20 more customers were like, yeah, I want a sign. I want to tell people I have the service. So this is a small snapshot of signs all over town, from Varna to Freeville, Yellow Barn neighborhood, Village of Dryden. Everywhere we have service, we have signs.
They're beautiful.
And then last but not least on this report is a couple other public relations items in the month of October. But by talking about these in the middle of November, it kind of felt stale. So these both happened last week. I was a guest speaker at Dryden High School for one of the technology classes, talking about Dryden Fiber, how it started. I showed a picture of the signs. I actually brought a sign with me, and I asked the kids in the classroom if they had seen these signs, and one of them said, yeah, I have in my front yard. This is like, it's not like some people over there use Dryden Fiber. It's like people who live in our community who have kids in our high school who are using this for work. They're using it for education. It's part of the community. It was a really good conversation with the kids. It was about 45-minute class. I sent around the town board some feedback we got from the students about their engagement. The other thing that also happened last week was on Friday, Dan, Jason, Ryan Garrison from Hunt Engineering, and I spoke at the American Planners Association of Upstate New York. That was last Friday morning, just to share with other planners what we've done, how we started, why we started, and where we are so far. So it was a pretty dynamic conversation between the history that Jason and Dan brought to why this project exists, some of the background and engineering about using fiber versus other things we could use to bring broadband to people's homes that Ryan led, and then giving an update on what Dryden Fiber looks like today. It was a good talk. Not a very big crowd, but still a lot of fun. And get our name out there for other places where we go and tell the story and engage more people in the community that this is happening. The rest of the deck I sent over by email, I think yesterday or Tuesday. If you have any questions, totally open. Thanks. Any questions for the month?
No, I mean, just tomorrow we have our public broadband committee meeting. It's on, anybody can attend. It's on Zoom, so we get a little bit more in depth with things then. But yeah. It's great work, Dave.
Thank you.
And again, Dave, our message to anyone interested is to go to the website and sign up, right? Get your name in the.
Yes, they do not need to wait until their parcel turns green. Just go to drydenfiber.com and go to the request service page, put their information in. As soon as their parcel turns green, our sales customer support team will reach out to them and get them scheduled for installs. It also helps us with planning. We know we're going to turn this neighborhood green. It's 100 parcels. We already have 50 people signed up. That helps us with staffing on the installation team to know like we're going to need to staff up a little bit because we have a big group of people who want to get online really quick.
Yeah, because people like this, I guess people that remember fundamentally this is just a big construction project. So yeah, the more you help us plan, the more quicker we can get it to you.
That's right. Right now we're doing 4 installs per day. As I said, the queue as of yesterday morning had 22 installs in the queue, and none of them were outside the month of October. So we're still within this. You sign up for service, we'll get you installed within 2 weeks. Unless the customer says like, I'm going on vacation, I want it later. We really want to get this to them as quick as we can.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Jason, do we have an idea on how this is gonna affect property values? I mean, I know someone who sold a house last year and they were able to sell their property, but their neighbors 2 miles down couldn't because one had internet service and the other didn't. So it made it very, very difficult to sell a house without
Yeah.
internet access.
It'll make it easier.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll improve them, but it's going to improve the quality of life around town more important.
Yeah.
But having this kind of service available when it's completely done is also going to attract more business because, and even, probably more people can work remotely.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be a whole lot of good collateral effects of this. So being on the leading edge for is the something that we really strive to do.
I mean, Spring, what you're saying, we know intuitively it would add value and I initially regretted moving where I moved because I had no internet access for a dozen years. Eventually, I was able to get the fixed wireless, but that's not very good coverage.
Yep.
So, but I want to look that up. I'm sure there is a study on the impact of broadband access to property values.
Yeah. But the other thing it's going to do too, by making it available to everybody, because it doesn't matter.
Levels the playing field.
Yeah, it's going to level the playing field so all those people that these other services won't even attempt to reach, who have to. We saw it during COVID, where kids are going to parking lots to attend class. They're not going to have to do that.
Yeah.
Because we're also going to be offering service, under the state law that's been requiring a lower cost service based on income. This is all, much of this money is state and federal money that we're using, so of course we're going to do that. So that's one of the things they wanted to see, and I think one reason why we I got the grant we did too. So it's a good thing when you can do something that's going to benefit everybody. That's what the whole, I guess, point of local government is too.
Yeah.
So
I can do some research on this question about increasing the home value. Preliminarily, looks like having fiber alone increases your home value by 1.3%, having high speed 1 gigabit by 1.8%. So adds 3.1% of the value of your home, which is not nothing. It's a substantial increase in the value of the home that if you're trying to resell, if you're looking to leave and you have access to broadband, it's better for you than not. I can get some more data.
Studies too. I'm looking as well, David, and I see estimates 3% from the Realtors Association, and then others saying 15%. Another saying an average single family home would increase its value by 5,000. So, I mean, I think there's a number in there that is not insignificant, probably in the 3 to 5% range.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to the like Ithaca realtors before about this before we even buried fiber, just about letting them know what we're trying to do. And the thing they always say it's easier to sell, easier to get, basically it's easier to sell a home that's got fiber, but most people are looking for a home that's got some kind of internet access.
Yeah.
Period. It's just if you're, for certain types of people and certain types of things they're doing, they need even faster than what Spectrum or whoever's offering. So you open it up to different types of businesses too, and it's not just creative types. I mean, people who are running like anybody who uses large files for their work, which could be contractors and engineers and whatever. I mean, to just host them and move them around the clients, like you need not just download speed, but you need upload speed.
Yeah.
And that's the difference about what we're offering than other services. Our upload speed is extremely fast. So you're not going to be sitting there all day waiting for something to upload to a client. You're going to get it to them and go out and do the work. So. Cool. All right. Thanks, Dave. Good. Gotta get through a couple resolutions and then we can go right into the budget workshops then and then jump back to the other stuff, I think. All right, let me get the first one up.
The climate smart.
Why don't we have
What?
the Freeze Road Bridge?
It is.
It's
Right.
on.
In
Yeah.
that line?
See?
It's C.
Oh, it's C. Yeah.
See, yeah. All right, so this first resolution is
Okay.
to authorize the town to spend $175,000. It's a nice sort of grant. For the highway barn,
Initially, it's just 25,000 for the energy audit,
right, but
and then they have that other money that they can spend on something out of the audit.
so it's first the audit and then the work if
Yeah,
it's found that if it's worth doing. Okay.
Yep.
Um,
I'll move it.
sure.
So,
Then Leo seconded it.
yes.
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 Yes. All right. The next one. So I'll sign that, like the commitment letter, and then, yeah, I'll take care of that. All right, the next one is I think Christina, you wanted to introduce it. It's about the operation.
Sure, this is
Green.
supporting Operation Greenlight for local military veterans. Veterans Day is November 11th. The past 2 years, we've passed this resolution, but unfortunately, we did it after Veterans Day, so we couldn't participate in the Operation Greenlight. Is where you shine a green light at your business or residence and support. So this year, we have a couple weeks to plan for it. And we'll try to coordinate with the villages and some of the public buildings to businesses too, to see if they'll participate.
You're moving that.
I'll move it.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilperson Vargas Mendez.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, so next up, we have the resolution to declare the intended town of Dryden Town Board to act as lead agency for Freeze Road over Fall Creek bridge replacement. So
I'll move that.
Second.
let me just get it up on the screen. Yeah. Okay. Oops. Yep.
Yes.
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 Question.
Yes.
Who's going to send these documents to all the residents?
Which one is this one? Yes. We can do it. Cassie, I mean. Which,
I can do it, but I want to know exactly what it is.
They're consulting parties. Is that who is on the list?
The involved agencies and interested agencies.
I can't see that. I guess it's-
Well, I know who to send it to, but I don't know exactly what.
Does B and L have?
I think BNL might do that.
This, yeah.
Would be my first guess on that.
Okay, so somebody's gonna find that out.
yeah,
We can.
If B and L blocks at it, I can help you do these letters. Yeah, I've done it for a couple of my projects.
just so people know who they are. It's DEC, county highway, DOT. Houston State, Division of Historic Preservation, Dryden Highway, Town Highway Department. Cuba Trails Club, Cornell Botanic Gardens, Cornell University Real Estate. Environmental Management Council, and then I guess. Historic Ithaca, Historic Bridge Foundation, Varna Community Association, and then some local
Yeah, it's still.
residents, but it should say. Jan Morgan, so Jim.
No, she's not a consulting party.
Yeah, well,
If he's deceased and so
Yeah.
nothing goes out.
right. Just whoever mails it out should know that.
I've told them, that, you know, that so are we doing the rest of this stuff tonight?
Yeah,
The type 1 actions though. I mean, this is the resolution, but we still gotta do the other things.
yeah, the FEAF. So we gotta do
The EA, this is the short end.
yeah. Okay.
I just didn't see that on the agenda.
It's right on the, I mean, it's in the documents. I don't know why it didn't show there, but. This is the, FEAF.
There's a good summary in this, if you're wondering the scope and, you know, what got us to now and the status.
I mean, this is the map where it is. I think everybody knows where it's at.
Where it's at.
Yep. And
So how long after this before they actually begin work?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, really? Okay.
No.
no, it still has to go out, the bridge fabrications got to go out to bid still.
That we have to do a final design report and get that back to DOT and the Federal Highway signs on that, and then we put it out to bid. So it could happen fairly quick once we do this.
Okay.
Does that sound accurate to you as your understanding? Yeah. Much like the Route 13 pedestrian bridge. They're almost in the same place.
Will they do work in the winter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
far as remove, the first thing to do is to remove the old structure. And get it out of there.
All right,
And
so,
they don't have to wait for the weather. Okay.
all right, so I'm just gonna start off at the. In part A is just naming who's who. Government approvals. This is part B. I'm showing it on the screen, but if you see if there's any comment or question on it, just call it out. I'm not gonna read every line.
A lot of agencies involved, as you can see.
Yeah, but it's
Kind of staggering.
yeah, I mean, we have,
8
well, there's 8
entities involved.
entities, yeah. And the federal agencies look at it after everybody else. That's what that says. All right, so down to section C, planning and zoning. There's no adoption of a plan or ordinance or anything with this. Just says we've adopted a comp plan. And there's recommendations about the site. It references the old plan, 2005. But that didn't change for the new one anyhow. So. Zoning, it's the Varna Hamlet zoning. Under project operations, the what's checked off yes is the water body that's affected is Fall Creek. And the one delineated wetland under the part of the bridge span. And then the other thing that's checked off yes is about noise, but that's during the construction. And then the land uses nearby, it's section E1, it's just forest, ag, aquatic, residential, rural, recreational. There's a trail right off there. And I guess that's the Cuga Trail was there. Yeah, it says on it's E1, it's on page 10, top of page 10. It says Cuga Trail previously crossed Fall Creek by the Freeze Road Bridge, and it's currently closed because the bridge is closed. So stuff about drainage, surface water. It's in a floodplain. I think that's how the bridge got there in the first place. Groton Bridge floated downriver and they just propped it out. Right. I don't know if it was quite like that, but well, it got pushed. I don't know. But anyhow, that's I think how it happened long ago. And then it washed out one other time. Right, and they built one side to have a 2-lane bridge, and one side didn't, get built like that. the pylons.
Mm.
One of them's actually there, can support 2 lanes, the other one wasn't.
Yeah, interesting.
I remember the beatings. They scarred me.
I'll let the healing begin.
Let's see what else. And it's historic. Breeze Road Metal Truss Bridge, Ithaca. The numbers on there, this is page 13. And that's all that's in there.
It will improve fire protection, right, Varna?
Yeah,
One of our reasons for trying to move this thing.
yeah, so yeah, so we don't have the negative secret deck resolution in here. I guess we're,
No, I don't have anything for this.
I don't-
They didn't send us on this.
yeah, we just did that.
You have to run a 30-day clock before you can do a
Yeah,
determination.
so we'll have to bring this back in a month. So,
So we have to keep this open for a month and
yep,
Yeah, you're going out with a lead agency declaration, and if the agencies don't respond within 30 days, they default to concurring with that.
yeah,
And
and
then you can
then,
go ahead with its determination.
okay, so we
So-
don't need a determination tonight. I know.
yeah, but we just gone through, so basically November 21st.
Yeah.
We'll be able to act on it. Okay. All right.
Finally.
I
Yeah,
feel like champagne should be bursting, but we'll wait till nobody.
all right, and then as far as the, last week we talked about the DCO proposal. Did anybody have any comments on that draft? 'Cause otherwise, I wanna be able to let that out and also. We have to publish it,
I'm sorry, did you show us language?
yeah, it was sent around.
Okay.
Um,
Where's
Is there a
that?
place for us to make edits?
Yeah.
That's been-
I think the thing that we, as far as the budget goes, we're gonna want the DCO to do a dog enumeration too. So. We do need to figure out a budget number for that, but part of, see if it was in here.
Is it different than last year? I mean, what we had set aside, didn't we set aside? Okay,
Yeah,
but it was in here, wasn't it, in the budget? Wasn't there some total?
yeah, we don't do it every year.
Okay,
So it's not, last time we tried to do it was middle of COVID. And it wasn't completed. So I think that's about the only thing that I would need to just add in here, conduct a dog enumeration. As needed, yeah.
Are you gonna ask them to do that under the contract or?
I mean, we may as well have them for this one, since we won't have it done this year. Get on it and this. I think that makes sense. So that's the only addition I would do to this, to add dog enumeration language.
Do we have one more thing to the bullet list? And I think this came up last year when we were talking to the fellow who we selected.
Yeah.
About adopting a pet, and we were going to promote a pet every month in the newsletter.
Aw.
Well, that's why I want
I
to
like
put it in
that, yeah.
here. That, we will have monthly representation of
Any available things.
any available pets, a picture and a description to promote adoption in the town's newsletter.
So I had suggested in the online edit that we had. We have a bullet in here about requiring that they advertise online. Because there's all these things like petfinder.com and all these other things that any not-for-profit or adoption program can post to make people aware of dogs that, if they're adoptable. Um,
Okay.
and I don't think there's a fee.
If they're trained, sure. I want to be cleaning up.
But it's like the SPCA and all the others funnel through these, some of these web groups, so.
Right.
It's more proactive for,
And I
Okay.
don't think it costs anything, so.
No, it
I
won't.
saw them advertised somewhere.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll add the amendment that you made on the SharePoint.
Yeah.
Plus these two other bullets, one about dog enumeration and then one about promoting in the town newsletter with a photo and a description.
Yeah, maybe we have to put a date, like by the third week of the month, or 1 week before, by the, I don't know, the second to last Thursday of the month, we need information about
And the dog should. be
adoption
here.
information, including dogs available, pictures and descriptions to allow the town to promote in the town newsletter.
Come meet the dog at the Dryden Town board meetings, every second.
There's nothing like a
nine
picture of a
dogs.
puppy to make people say, I want that.
I
Right,
know,
but if you don't see it,
right there.
yeah, I want that. I don't know, is that your dog?
No, that's theirs. That's the Dryden Dog Control. That's their Facebook page.
Okay, they got something going on.
Yeah,
We should promote it as well.
it was like banjo.
All right, I'll move that.
All right, I'll second that.
So how do you get the word out? Who does this go to?
We'll publish it in,
But like people who might be
Newspapers
interested, how do
and-
they know to? They just have to, are we proactive?
I mean, we published one. What was it? I don't know how many years ago, but
This goes in the Ithaca Journal
We've done twice.
yeah,
or the Cortland Standard. What's our paper now?
well, the journal is still the paper, but we can publish in more than one
Let's
place.
put in the Cortland paper.
So,
And it'll be on the Dryden Town website, right?
yeah, we'll-
Yeah, but who actually goes there to look for something like this? I mean, can you send it to like veterinarian offices or they might know somebody or
I mean,
otherwise we're gonna get the same.
well,
same guy.
I'd say if you have ideas about where, just tell us.
Okay.
Just send an email in.
Veterinary offices in the past. Requirement to license, which we should do that. Most of them have a bulletin board, you probably say.
Okay.
How often do veterinarian offices ever work in this space? You ever see like a vet get involved in this type of work?
I think there are some that volunteer with. Maybe the SPCA and or the rabies clinics that the county department runs.
Or would you ever see a dog control officer affiliated with a professional practice of?
Possibly. There's a great big new vet
Yeah.
going in on Route 13.
They live by me. They live behind me.
mean, seems like,
Oh, maybe I can reach out to them.
it seems like it was related to what they do. Good business.
Yeah, well, it's the part that's. There's also the enforcement part, which I don't know that vets would get involved in. But
Right, they'd have to hire different people, but
Yeah.
be affiliated
New
with.
partnership.
So,
When this hits the street, will you let us know?
Okay. We
Yep.
get the word out.
About.
Yep.
So first of all, this Monday.
yep,
Yes.
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 yes, all right. Okay, and now we'll just move right over to, we'll go into the budget workshop, we'll go back to the advisory board stuff when we're done with that. Yeah. So I guess Varna, we're going in alphabetical order, so Varna, So, and Mason, you have a thing for the,
I do. I'm logged in on Zoom. I don't know if it's possible to get sharing.
yeah, I can just make you a co-host. You can share right on the screen.
Thank you.
You know, anybody?
Boy, that's a small font.
All right, excellent. So thank you very much. Mason Jager, Chief of the Varna Volunteer Fire Company. I'm Brian Better, Deputy Chief and our Vice Board Chair. Thank you for the time this evening to kind of discuss the budget. As you had mentioned, we will do kind of a brief presentation and then answer any questions you may have. We'll go ahead and get started. I realize that we're discussing a lot of money, which is why we're kind of doing an overview of the department. Some of this might be a review from the strategic planning session that we had recently. So. Just kind of an overview, kind of an introduction to the department, discussing some of our activities, some of our initiatives, and then some of our alternate funding sources, and then planned investments going forward. So a brief overview, this year we've had approximately 55 fire-related trainings, on average around 7 personnel on calls, which is quite high for a volunteer fire department in this area. We have approximately 70 active members, 39 of whom are exterior firefighters. Of those 39, approximately 20 are interior firefighters, so that's a higher level of training and certification. And we currently have approximately 27 EMTs and certified first responders. So those are the folks who are responding to the medical calls. Our membership is, I would say, perhaps our greatest strength. And so we have kind of a large diversity of members, both local and we're lucky enough to have a lot of undergraduate and graduate students from Cornell University, also staff and faculty. And so we do have, as you've seen over the last few years, as we've switched over to this model, kind of this ebb and flow of membership, but we've been able to maintain and increase our numbers over that time, despite the rotating population. So as I mentioned, when I first joined in 2020, I've been on here, it says, a little over 20 members, but in reality, there's probably closer to like 7 or 10 really, truly active members. And since then, things have really taken off through a number of initiatives for recruitment and, importantly, retention. We actually recently had to expand our member photo board because we ran out of room. So it's a good problem to have, but we're looking to fill in even some of those gaps at the end. These are just some examples of our new members. So the picture on the left is our spring recruit class from last spring. And then the image on the right is our 7 members that we just accepted this fall. In between these two, we had probably, I think, like 6 or 7 also local community members that were recruited over the summer, kind of sporadically. The reward for having this kind of large and robust membership is that we've had over time an increase or an improvement in our average response time. So about 2 minutes and 21 seconds, which doesn't sound like perhaps a lot, but it's a pretty good response for a volunteer department. If you remember back to White Marsh, the department that came and spoke, and it was a really amazing department. I think there was like 1 minute and 56 seconds or something. So we're not there, but it is an improvement year after year. And an average on scene time of about 7 minutes and 19 seconds, which if you consider how large our district is and how rural some of those aspects are, we're quite proud of that as well. And as I mentioned at one of the previous board meetings, thanks to our increase in training and membership recruitment and retention, we now routinely exceed the NFPA standard for rural volunteer fire department responses to structure fires. So we're really proud and excited of that for that. This is a very rough number, but according to our record system, we have approximately just under 20,000 hours invested by our members throughout the year. If you use the average number, about $25 per hour for volunteer, which is, I guess, also kind of a going wage around here. just for volunteer hours alone, not including overhead or any kind of operating budget, it's almost $500,000 a year that our members are saving taxpayers. I have my little asterisk down there at the bottom that a reminder that the Ithaca Fire Department, which is a career fire department, operates on around $14 million a year. Of course, they cover a much different demographic, but considering that the town of Dryden fire departments collectively provide a similar service, it's something to keep in perspective. Something that we were actually kind of surprised ourselves is that we recently did an analysis of our calls, and we have noticed a dramatic increase in the number of calls we've responded to. These are October to October numbers, not January to January. But as you can see, in general, we were around, between 300 and 360 or so calls per year. And in this last year, we've, is it 460 or something? 470. It's been quite a dramatic increase in our calls.
You know why? Is it because of Brookendale or Aetna or both? Or
certainly, our mutual aid calls to Aetna are probably about half of that. The other half, we've noticed an increase in the number of heavy storms in the area. And so some of these calls are also responding to wires down, fires related to those, trees down, those kinds of things. That certainly is contributing as well. Yep. We also have a population that's aging, and we are a significant number of our calls are related to elderly folks who have fallen or have been stuck for a while, and so the EMS calls related to that have increased.
Yep.
So having members does nothing if they're not trained appropriately to operate safely and effectively, and so we do a combination of in-house training, state trainings. We sometimes invite outside instructors to come and provide training so that it's not just our own view on how things should be done. And we also try to send our members to regional trainings to see what's going on around the state and stay on top of trends. We've also really enjoyed participating in the every other month Town of Dryden Fire Department trainings. It's been a really fantastic opportunities. Our members have really enjoyed them. I've really enjoyed them. And I think it's improved our effectiveness, camaraderie, and ability to work together. So it's been really great. So just in state training alone, our department has over 4,000 hours of state training. I think that's actually perhaps one of the more aggressive departments in the county, let alone the region, in terms of our members going out above and beyond, traveling sometimes up to an hour and a half, if not farther, for some of these trainings to stay on top of what's current. We still push for recruitment. We have our annual open house. We try to have representatives at every Music in the Hollow. We also have Cornell Activity Fair participation to try and recruit from the maintain a steady supply of recruits from the Cornell population. Our members also really enjoy community engagement. So again, the Alatoa Fair. This is the second year we've been invited back to the state fair to operate the OFPC House of Hazards. They specifically requested us back because they've enjoyed our members participating in that in years past. We also have folks who go to schools and do training and demonstrations, participate in different Cornell events. And this year we went back for the first VCA Summer Family Festival that's happened in a few years. So we're really excited to be a part of that. I just threw this up here because I know this has come up in the past, but safety is a top priority in Varna. I know this looks kind of silly that we're just scrubbing this person down, but this is an initiative that the state is really pushing of gross decontamination, especially after structure fires, so that we can get any kind of particulate matters off of folks before they can cause cancer. We take that very seriously. We've made that an initiative within our department, and our members have taken to it. Even simple things like the person there in the middle wearing safety chaps and ear protection and eye protection with a chainsaw. You'd be surprised how that doesn't naturally happen in volunteer fire service. And last year, we, as a department, invested heavily in training incident safety officers, which we incorporate into all of our trainings now. Our bunkhouse program is thriving. So we have a completely filled bunkhouse. It's actually a competitive program right now. And all but one of our bunkers is dual trained as both an EMT and an interior firefighter. And so it's a really significant resource that we have, and we have almost 24/7 coverage by these highly trained individuals. Brought this up last year, but it's been work in progress. These things take some time.
But we have finally completed our efforts to increase harmonization of equipment in the town of Dryden. So we've converted our SCBA equipment, our breathing apparatus, so that we can work more closely with Neptune and Freeville if we have any kind of equipment exchange issues. And we've also converted our hose, our TAC hose, to 1.75 inch, which again, I know sounds like maybe trivial, but it's really important that we have interoperability. And so we can connect our hoses to our mutual aid departments as well, if needed. Just this year, we received significant outside funding. So we received $76,000 approximately for an exhaust collection system. Again, trying to invest in our membership and their safety and cancer prevention. We take that very seriously. So we're excited to have that installed in the near future. But we still could submit grant applications for smaller funding too. So we recently had our first grant from the Triad Foundation for $5,000 for mailbox address signs, which is a current initiative we have in our community, and then EMS bag replacement. So an overhaul. You're all, I think, well familiar with the SAFER grant. And so we have successfully recruited and maintained 39 SAFER eligible members, 9 of whom are local, because I know that that comes up as a question sometimes. And we currently have approximately $32,000 in pending reimbursements. As you know, there have been some hurdles with getting that funding, getting that reimbursement because of the way FEMA wants their policies, our policies to be. We've also been in the news. This is from 2023, which is cheating a little bit, but it happened after the last budget hearing, so I thought I'd throw it up there. Our department was named Department of the Year in Tompkins County, which was really exciting for us. It's the first time this has been awarded. We had a member recently in the department in general highlighted in a Spectrum News series on volunteer fire departments in New York. So that was kind of fun to see our department and our members highlighted in the news. And then we just recently were awarded the 2024 New York State Innovation Award for organizational innovation in the field of emergency medical services. And so this is a state award. This is not like a local or regional. So we're really excited about that. And so we're going to be actually going this weekend to the conference where the department will be presented with the award. So
What tipped the balance for you on that one? What in terms of organizational innovation?
So for that, it's mostly our just culture, introduction of a just culture system into our department. So basically it's a kind of a punishment-free way of evaluating mistakes almost. So if somebody recognizes something that was either done incorrectly or almost incorrectly, they can submit documentation for it, then it's reviewed and we can implement changes in response to that. But it's meant to kind of reduce hurdles to making corrections. And it's worked very well, especially the medical side. And it's worked so well that we're introducing it on the fire side as well.
That's great.
If you take away the fear of people getting in trouble, right? I mean, obviously we have to be safe, but the whole point of it is to make corrections, not kind of cover them up. And lastly, we've also recently been approached by the Center for Fire Rescue and EMS Health Research, which is a national organization. They've asked us specifically to help them develop a toolkit for implementation of DEI initiatives into recruitment, retention, and promotion practices. Almost all of the other departments in this study so far are career departments. We are the first volunteer department that they've reached out to. So as you saw in our budget submission, we had a fair number of capital purchases this year. Two of the largest ones, I would say, would be the new roof, which we were very excited about because we had leaks and we were concerned about even more significant damage. So we were able to get that done this past winter. It turned out great. And then we also purchased those SCBA. The SCBA will comment 97% of that was covered by a FEMA grant, but it's still a large expenditure on the sheets. We've also made smaller equipment upgrades, which we've talked about needing to do in previous presentations. So as I mentioned, we replaced our hose and our apparatus. We recently purchased radio headsets for the cabs of our trucks, which is really important, not only for ease of communication within the cab, but it's also ear protection. It can get quite loud in those cabs. And there have been studies showing hearing damage to career firefighters who are in the cab listening to those sounds. So we're working towards that. We've also done a significant Knox system update. So Knox keys it's a system that allows us basically universal access to predetermined key locations. So let's say for a business, if they want us to be able to get in an emergency, we can now access their kind of emergency key on site. We were using a significantly outdated system. It's modernized and planning for the future. It is something that we can integrate with other agencies in the area, including other town of Dryden departments down the road with that electronic key, which is this one on the right here. So it can be programmed for different districts. And lastly, one of my favorite things, we've been switching over gradually to battery operated machinery, which reduces on scene, noise, pollution, but also air pollution. So if you're trying to get out toxic gases from a building, now we can use fresh air that doesn't contain carbon monoxide itself. So certainly, our budget request has increased from last year. These are the main components that have increased in that budget. Vehicle maintenance, as you've heard us talk about before, we have a significantly aging apparatus fleet. With that comes increased maintenance costs. Fuel costs are going up. We also have more vehicles in our fleet and we're going to more calls, so that inherently has to go up commensurate. EMS supplies, similarly, our EMS calls have increased quite a lot, especially with mutual aid coverage, but again, also that aging population. Personal protective equipment, cleaning and repairs, it's something we're trying to do more of in our department, not only to maintain the longevity of our equipment, but also to increase member safety. Insurance goes up every year, but we've also recognized, I think it's been discussed recently, that our insurance coverage, replacement coverage needs to increase because the value or the replacement costs of these apparatus have outpaced our own insurers' rates. Physical examinations, more members, more physicals, which is required by law. Our vehicle fund is perhaps the largest increase. And as you saw from our vehicle replacement plan, as you've heard 1,000 times, the rates are increasing dramatically and it's becoming almost prohibitively expensive to purchase equipment. And we are in the unenviable position to have to replace multiple pieces of equipment. And then lastly, the member benefits. So uniforms, banquets, food, more members, more involvement, some increased costs there. Something that we have found, the part of our success is that if you have satisfied members, you have a thriving department. Our members are happy to be at the station, to go into calls, to go to trainings. And so we try to support them in any way we can to make things more enjoyable and productive for them. So just briefly, some planned capital investments. It's similar to other years. We have need for additional turnout gear. Slowly over each year, we replace additional sets. Our radios are now over 25 years old and they don't make parts for them anymore. And so we are slowly trying to replace those. That's an added cost. Continuing to replace outdated fire equipment and to stay up to date with what current safety needs are. And we've been in discussions with the Neptune Hose Company about perhaps buying a forcible entry training prop. We talked about this recently at the strategic planning meeting. Right now, the estimate is around $12,000, and we have agreed that we would split that with the Neptune Hose Company, but we're hoping to maybe reach out to some of our other town of Dryden departments as well. Yeah.
If your radios are that old, do they talk with the pump system, the new 911 pump system? Okay.
Yeah. So the major things on our horizon that always give me anxiety is our apparatus replacement, our station expansion. This is a sign of how many people we are allowed to have in our largest room in our station, which is our conference room. We cannot currently house all of our members in one room legally, which is a concern. And I have personally some ambitions for adding a training facade to the property, which would be a low cost, high yield opportunity for our members to practice the most basic of skills needed for modern structured fire responses. That's all I have for my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I know Neptune's brought it up before. If all the departments got together for the physicals, would the price per physical go down if you guys all joined together?
So there have been some negotiations already, I think. And I think Chris O'Connor has kind of worked toward that. I think he was we were having some meetings with AccuStar. I don't think that the prices changed much. I mean, they're already kind of a high volume business and us coordinating is not helping a lot. However, we are coordinating as departments, like just last night, some of our members went to Freeville to have their physicals done. So we are we are working together with OcuStar on that.
Can they do blood work when they get physical?
No, it's not part of the routine physical. Right now, it's mostly just, you know, breathing tests, vision tests, testing for diabetes. We have introduced this year EKGs to detect any kind of heart rhythm abnormalities, although it's been kind of a mixed bag in terms of interpreting those results. But currently, there's no blood test as part of that.
And you work with a contracted agency that's doing that?
Yes, and that has been the most reliable and
Okay.
consistent in terms of getting results.
Okay.
To reduce costs, we have also started doing our own fit tests. So the town departments last year coordinated and purchased our own fit test machine, so that saves a little bit of money there.
Well, maybe I'm missing something. Why do we have two budgets?
Yes, that caused some confusion when we submitted them too. So we received in August a letter from Supervisor Leifer asking for two budgets.
With the other departments?
No.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so we've had a couple presentations already that didn't do that, so.
Yeah, it was a little challenging on our side too, because the template we had received was just for one budget, and so then I had to like redo some of the
Okay.
formulas in Excel, which is always a bit of a nightmare. And I included the capital reserves in those budgets as well. So one of the budgets requested was for just day-to-day operations only, and then a second budget that had everything incorporated. But again, it was a little challenging with the template that we were provided to do that, so.
Yeah, I understand that, but so if you take a line item like donations and the one budget says 5,000, another says 10,000.
Wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking.
But why would one budget, I mean, that's your internal work. That has nothing to do with what we're asking.
No, but it's I mean, it was just an attempt of projections, yeah, and budgets, maybe more aggressively of, I don't know, pursuing donations.
Yeah, because I was wondering if like those donors who like if they match more or something like that.
No, we haven't had anybody do a matching, but I think some donors are more inclined if perhaps they know that the department has had budget cuts, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I had a question when I was looking them over.
Yep.
I noticed that for 2024 actuals, you had reserve funds withdrawn from apparatus, building, and major equipment, or major equipment replacement. But then you don't list anything, like you list all the other capital purchases, you know, the EMS and the headsets and folding phones, et cetera, but that amount that you pulled out of the reserves, where did it go? Like, what did you put a down payment on something? Did you, one of them was the roof, I'm guessing, after seeing it? So I guess I was just curious, like, because it makes it look like you have all this extra money, and I'm like, well, no, because I went and spent it on something, but I don't know what.
Yeah, so there wasn't a spot in the template, or at least I didn't think there was.
Well, that was what the capital purchase line was for, but for whatever you spent, that wasn't up in the operational side. That would be the intent of that line, so. So anyway, so keep going, I'm just curious, did you spend it on, so you spent it on a roof, and then what else did you bought some trucks, or did you, what other?
So for the equipment, that included the SCBA,
Okay,
which was covered by the grant.
okay,
So that's why I had to include that, because in the income, it showed,
and that's the safer grant that you're still waiting for the funding on?
no, that.
No, it's a different grant.
Right, so if you look, under 2024 actuals to date, the grant's 124,000.
Yep,
That includes the SCBA grant.
okay. And so then that is all, of then,
And then the major equipment replacement reserve, 129 of that 152 approximately is the SCBA.
okay.
Yeah.
And then the major building was the roof,
Correct.
and then apparatus, oh, that's the apparatus, what was the 136, was that?
Yep, so that was a combination of a replacement of, so there was a heavy duty pickup truck. And the other one was Tahoe. The heavy duty pickup truck was paid for with insurance. So if you look under actuals to date, there was
Yeah.
that was the 65,000. Yeah. Yep.
That was the, insurance, that's right.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And then my other question was, do you have for 2025? Are you planning any major capital purchases?
Not currently.
Not currently.
That's not, I mean, other than.
To have it be zero, I was just like, really?
Well, so for example, the door thing just came up very recently, so that's why I put it in the presentation, but it's not in the budget, because that's only been a recent development.
So no major purchases on the horizon, but things come up.
Correct, yeah, I mean, even apparatus might be wishful thinking, I don't think that, even if we wanted to, I don't think we would be able to buy anything this year. The training facade is a possibility, but we still have a lot of planning to do before that happens, so it's hard to come up with a number for that.
Yeah.
But other than that, like no major equipment, like we've already purchased the Cascade, we've already have the SCBA. So
All right, thank you.
radios would be the only other large purchase. We have submitted a grant for radio replacement too, but they haven't announced those results yet.
Shoot.
I've asked you another question about this organizational innovation award that passed to me. Where did you learn of the concept of this just culture?
Just culture reports. Yeah, I don't know. And so our EMS chief, Eric Kirkosen, I think, had introduced it recently. It's one of his initiatives that he did as kind of an assistant chief, but I think you had experience with it previously or something.
Yeah, it's a concept in EMS, and we actually, Eric is really great about staying on top of all the EMS news. He constantly keeps sending us studies. He listens to a lot of podcasts, and the just culture thing came up in a podcast, and then he ended up reading some studies about it. And in my old ambulance in Manhattan, we actually had a similar concept. So we didn't call it just culture, but Eric spearheaded the initiative after kind of learning about it from a podcast.
Do you have a presentation on it?
Not on us, but I'm pretty sure that
Could you email me one just to read? Because I like reading stuff like that.
yeah,
I'm sure Eric
yeah,
would love to
absolutely.
put something.
That would be awesome.
Email presentation?
Yeah, you can email a PowerPoint as an attachment.
Well, you're gonna make them do a PowerPoint for you?
I was
I
asking.
think he has.
Oh, he has it.
We haven't SOP, so.
They could
And he
here.
share it.
And I would have made him, he would have given us a presentation initially when he was introducing it.
Yeah.
So he probably
Right.
has one already
You
made.
don't have them do anything additional.
Okay, I won't
Just
let him.
if you happen to have one in the bank that you could share for, fun reading, that would be.
CC me, I'd like to see that too.
It's been very successful internally.
I love the fact that you picked up on this and applied it. It's kind of cool.
The example that they really liked when the state was asking us about it was, medications have different expiration dates and they're in different locations and in different sizes and colors and never really know. So because we had a close call where a patient accidentally was given what was almost accidentally given expired aspirin, but we stopped it before it happened. What came of that was a just culture report. No one got in trouble for it. That was a close call. But now all of our medications have in huge Sharpie the expiration date and we verify it. So it's little things like that end up avoiding close calls in the future.
Do you have a software for tracking your near misses?
Pay attention.
Well, this is it really. The just culture system is how we track near misses.
Got it. Okay.
It's free.
And Eric made and coded an entire inventory system that tracks expiration dates now.
He's very good at coding.
Yeah, well, sounds like it.
A great PowerPoint. I like you. Thanks for making that extra effort.
Yeah.
Some good pictures.
Yeah, and a question I had about the bunker mortgage, like, do you know how many years is left on
I was
it?
just looking at this the other day. It's not too much longer. I think it's like, well, 10 or 12 years or something like that, but I
So
don't
what's
have it on me, but I
the amount that's actually left on it?
think it's like 125 or 130,000 maybe.
Okay, that, yeah.
Because we discussed this last year that with like, because interest rates are still,
They're high, so you're not gonna,
Yeah,
you're
we're
not
still-
gonna refinance, but
we're
I'm just
not paying it
wondering.
off just yet.
Well, this, at some point, there'll be, if not this coming year, but soon, depending on what your reserves are, you might make out, because right now you're paying 6,000 a year. in interest, that's what you're projecting for 25. You'd save, you might save some money paying it off earlier without refinancing, depending on what your reserve is and your truck schedule and all that.
I forget.
So the accounts, I see you put budgeted for an account, like an audit. So they might even suggest something like that, just based on, it's all the cash flow bit, but.
Yeah.
But.
So, yeah, currently the interest rate on our night class is higher than the interest rate on the mortgage, which is kind of why we're.
Yeah, or you could just even apply the extra interest on my class
That's true.
to that, just make the extra payments. And something like, even little like that helps.
You might have said this, so bear with me, but the insurance rates not including cancer coverage. Do you have a line that shows the cancer coverage rates?
I think it's like $626 or something.
Cancer, it's not.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
If not paid, I know.
No, yeah, we don't have a village. Yeah.
So I was curious about your incentive program. You've only spent 900 so far in 25, but you budgeted 6. And then you budgeted 6 again. And so I guess I was just curious, are you planning to pay out a whole bunch?
Yeah, I was just reminding our members, they tend to hoard. So this sounds silly as well, but they're really into department merchandise, like branded merchandise, so that they can wear it wherever. It's great for advertising. And it's even better that they kind of pay for it themselves with incentive. And they've got a lot of things that they're designing and planning and hoping to purchase. So I think that's gonna.
Just kind of the end of the year.
That's gonna, yeah, exactly. That's an end of the year kind of thing.
Okay.
Plus, a lot of them are hoarding their like gas receipts, and it's Christmas money.
And now we go up to fleet expenses. The first two, the 1901 and 1921. Again, budgeting 9 and 8,000, but only spending 4. Are you expecting some major repairs? This year?
And actually, so this just happened very recently. So our annual inspections happened like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So it just hadn't happened yet. And so we probably may even eclipse a little bit of this, but yeah, and each one of those on average every year is between $2,000 and $3,000 for them to have their pumps resurfaced, the inspections, they have the whole overhaul, and that happens in the fall. So it just happened after this, yeah.
Timing's always.
Yes. We also just replaced their tires.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything else? No? Okay.
One thing too with the fuel, because I know that one was a big one. So we introduced a training vehicle into our fleet. This is also very recent, so it's not reflected on this. Which has been very popular with our members. So, because not all of them either have appropriate transportation. So we have a fair number of people who drive motorcycles. You cannot carry your SCBA and turnout gear on a motorcycle. So the department purchased an inexpensive pickup truck, or relatively inexpensive pickup truck. So that members can in group and mass go to these trainings to and most importantly, not carry contaminated gear in their own personal cars. It's a pickup truck so that they can put the gear on the outside of the pickup truck. And so some of this will hopefully be safer reimbursable for some of those newer members, but
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, do your new members tend to drive electric vehicles?
I think we've only got a couple, right? For EV.
One.
Well, yes, I drive an EV now, but yes, not the new members necessarily.
It's a total random question because it keeps coming up around EV chargers and where in the community there is interest, so. Just wondering if Varna is a hot spot for electric.
I'd say a number, so like our Cornell students don't typically have any car. And so it's the greenest of all. They take public transportation. They take the bus to the fire station. So they really do.
Sometimes the bus.
Sometimes to calls. But yeah, not as many.
Just curious.
And has the high-speed and reliable Dryden fiber helped you attract and retain volunteers?
Honestly, I think so. We're just joking. Sometimes there are like 2 a.m. outages, which is only a real problem for our bunkers, I think. Yeah, that's the nightly maintenance. But actually, y'all kidding aside, it's been really great because we can have 25 members hanging out at the station at any given time, all doing homework, all needing high-speed internet. And so far, yeah, I think it's kept up really well with that demand. So it's worked out. And it's much cheaper than what we paid for Spectrum for worse service. So
Which plan do you, I forget which plan do you have,
I want to say it's silver. It's like the $75 plan.
the middle?
I don't remember how,
Okay.
yeah. It's great.
Faster, cheaper, stronger.
Yeah, well, we put one of the signs on
Yeah.
our lawn.
All right, great job, guys.
Okay, thank you.
What?
What were your parameters?
They're asking for bigger things versus maintenance budget. Basically like the county did. One was a maintenance and one was a. Yeah.
Language you use?
Yeah.
We should more. I looked at the emails and I don't know if Orban said that, but in different language.
Well, we only got.
I think it was how you interpreted it, though.
Clearly I gotta write it in a different way. Clearly I need to ask for it.
And then this is just self-service.
Yeah, but yeah, I know they're
Rebecca, do you need
like.
this? You wanna share?
I will, yeah, I'm just getting.
Department was asked for, but not the other three.
That's fine.
For what you did.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. We're doing it again if you feel like donating again, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Okay. Yeah, my sister is just outside of Hickory, so she missed it by a little bit, but we had a conversation about emergency preparedness because she slept through the hurricane, so. it's like, let's not do that again, okay? So. All right, how do I share my screen?
I made you,
It was amazing. I'm sorry,
I made you a co-host already, so you just gotta hit share.
I just got to hit.
Pictures of all the stuff at our department.
It was on Facebook.
Share, here we go, okay. Share my screen. Yeah, look at that, okay.
Whenever you're ready.
All right, so yes, my name is Rebecca. I am the treasurer here at WB Strong, otherwise known as Freeville Fire Department. Mike Parker, this is Greg Parker, deputy chief, and our head chief. So I don't like to overwhelm people with information, so I just have a couple little things to just share. I like pictures. So this year's been busy. Similarly to, we share a lot of similarities with Varna just in terms of activity. We're about half the membership. I think we have about 40 or so members, 35. But similarly to Varna, here on the corner, you can see that our total call volume in 2023 was 276. And we went from the beginning of the year, so January 1st to today. So we're not doing a full year comparison. It's just what we've done this year. In 2023, we had 276 calls from January 1st to October 17th. This year, we're at 391, which is another 30% just about increase. So we've been very busy. Some call statistics. So we had in 2023, we gave mutual aid 39 times. In 2024, we did that 99 times. So we had a 60 total call increase there. We received in 2023 mutual aid 5 times from other departments. In 2024, we've received it 8 times, so small uptick.
Do you have feeling on why the significant uptick in mutual aid calls?
Given. Given or received?
Given.
Oh, part of that's not.
Yeah, well. Yeah, we'll kind of get into that in the next,
Okay.
because I have a, no, it's okay. Don't steal my thunder.
Because these are just year to date. I mean, we still have 2.5 months to go.
Yeah,
You know, I get that. I was just wondering if there's a reason, but
No.
I didn't mean to.
yeah, I'm getting there. Our average personnel, has gone up a lot, from an average of 2.8 individuals, per call in 2023. We're now at 6.3, so we've more than doubled that. Our average in route time has gone down from 4.51 minutes down to 3.07. Or excuse me. From 4 minutes and 51 seconds down to 3 minutes and 7 seconds en route. So we've decreased our en route time by almost 2 minutes.
That's amazing.
And then our average on scene time, we've reduced from 8 minutes and 55 seconds down to just about 7 minutes. So again, about 2 minutes. And just if you're not familiar with this, when we are at the station, we're getting ready to go out to a call, we call that we're en route. So that's everybody leaving the station to getting to the scene. So that's a really big jump. So mutual aid statistics, this is, where that question that Spring, asked kind of comes into play. We would expect to see with a 30% increase in calls, we would definitely expect to see these numbers rise. Our top contender is definitely Aetna. We've responded 57 times to them for mutual aid. And then followed by Dryden for 20. And then, everybody else is upticked a little bit, but overall, those were the two biggest contenders for where we're going for mutual aid. Any questions on that?
I do. For the Aetna calls, so I know you're getting dispatched more, but do they ever respond also and cancel you while you're en route, or are you making it to the, okay.
To date, that they have never canceled us.
Have they made it on scene?
We were just talking about that in like the last 2 months. I think they've showed up to 2 calls that we've been on mutual aid with them.
And that was not with any of their apparatus, that was
That was
personal
just a
vehicle,
personal vehicle.
with one person.
Right. Okay.
We are keeping track of that.
How do these break
asking for
down EMS versus fire? So all volunteers are considered firefighters. There are some of us that have an EMT, like I'm an EMT. And we also have some members who are in class for CFRs, so they're just below an EMT. They can do mostly everything that we can do. Generally, calls or dispatches either fire or EMS is generally how that works. Obviously, sometimes you get to a fire situation, then there's EMS that needs to, respond as well, or medical care that needs to be provided. So
vehicle accidents or both.
right. So like our rescue truck has a jump bag and an AED and has medical equipment on there so we can respond in those types of situations. So generally speaking, it's either toned out as medical or as fire. And so like our rescue 741, if it's an EMS call, they'll call for that first. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, but you said your calls are up by 29% in 2024. And so my question of that 29% increase proportionally, is it EMS or
More EMS.
More EMS, for
And
sure.
I think what you're asking with the 37 more to Aetna, I believe that's a majority the automatically toned for rescue. I think that's mostly EMS because fire, we're not automatically toned. The only way we get called fire to Aetna is if they either request us or they go enough activations to where the county automatically starts the next closest fire department.
Is that happening more this year?
Some, I think majority of those 37 are gonna be medical. It doesn't break it down. It just gives how many times we went there.
We could go through each call and.
Yeah, you could go through each one, but it doesn't separate it for you.
A general impression is that we're mostly going for medical calls.
Yeah, that's great, thanks.
Was there a magic bullet increasing your response time? Because that's very impressive.
769.
769 was a huge success, and I'll just kind of go off on a little side note on that. 769 didn't even start responding until end of April, beginning of May. And that truck has been on over 95% of the calls. That truck is equipped with a jump bag and AED, most anything our rescue truck and our heavy rescue truck 702 as far as initial EMS stuff. That is EMS truck. So that's one of the reasons for the decrease in times, and things because we're able to get there right away because we have the truck on us. We've got a lot of feedback from other departments and some people from the public absolutely loving the fact that we have that because it has increased the time. So they're, they are seeing us out there more and we're getting there quicker.
So, and that's actually reflected in these graphs as well. So if you look in 2023, we didn't have 769, obviously. So I wish that the color was a little bit easier to distinguish here, but this big pie slice is 741. So that's our rescue vehicle. And we also deploy it for like traffic control as well. But in 2024, you can see that it's actually 769 is responding to more calls than 741 is. It's actually making up the majority of our apparatus that's responding. So.
And that's only May to October.
And that's only May to October.
Yeah,
Right.
so I mean, the numbers that you're seeing up there in 2024, the 741 calls, that's from January 1st. What you're seeing in 769 is only from May, end of April.
And I can verify that because I live a block away from the Etna fire station and we had a rollover in my house and 769 was the first one there.
Well, actually that that White House on 13 that caught on fire was a total loss. That they were,
was
you had it, yeah.
was the first one on scene and command of that call.
Yeah.
I had that.
Yeah.
Houses for sale, I've noticed.
Yeah. 50,000.
You know?
So and that's why we've gotten a lot of good feedback on 769 because a lot of the major calls, major car accidents, EMS calls, we've had some CPR calls. We have an AED and stuff on that truck and we were able to deploy that before any rescue or ambulance showed up.
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I believe that we've used that AED for like 3 cardiac arrests at this point. So, I mean, it's beating the EMS vehicle.
I think I've had 69 for 4 cardiac.
Okay. So
Huge asset.
yeah, it's, it's done everything that we were hoping for and more. So, so that's kind of our, general, apparatus, kind of breakdown. I have here as well, just some of our member hours. So, again, from January 1st till now, our just operations. So that includes fire, rescue, drills, trainings, and then like standbys and monthly meetings. Our department has logged 8,500 and some change hours. That does not include admin time, so I don't track the hours that I'm at the station working on treasurer stuff, phone calls, all of that. That's not included in here. So, we've definitely invested quite a few hours. And just some highlights from this year, we had the Groton Ave fire, which, for what that situation could have been, ended up going really well. Our pre-planning came in really effectively. We had a lot of really great feedback off of that. Some of you, like maybe was talking about, we've engaged in disaster relief. We've had a lot of good public facing time just this past 2 weeks. We raised over $6,000 in 4 days for taking a trailer full of items down to North Carolina, and we're still engaged in that process. So we've had a lot of really good conversations and opportunities kind of come out of that. We're catching up on the SAFER grant. We got the purchase policy approved. Varna deserves a huge amount of accolades for working with us on that. So I've got plans with Bill Ackroyd to set up an interdepartment submissal process. So he and I are going to make it streamlined so that way it's a little less work for me, but we're all on the same page for that. Let's see, some updates that we've done on the station. This is the first year that we will be fully using QuickBooks Online, so officially out of the Stone Ages. It's great. That's gonna help us a lot, especially as we get further down, with accounting and, whatnot, needing audits. We did an EMS overhaul. We found a whole bunch of stuff that had been expired as far as dates. We've implemented new strategies for keeping on top of dates. We just had epinephrine training at Dryden Ambulance, so we'll all be carrying epi, and we're also working on getting blood glucose monitors as well. So that's we also just had Fire Prevention Week. We had 4 different groups from Freeville Elementary School come in, and that's been kind of some of the more recent activity that we've done. Kind of looking down the line, I don't know how much you all are aware of some of the OSHA stuff that's coming down that we're looking at. And Mason kind of touched on this a little bit around the physicals. This year we didn't have to do the full blood work and EKG, but that is something that is coming most likely. Still, it hasn't been officially passed, but that's.
If any of you heard any, some of you are aware of the things that they're trying to push through in this area, forcing even volunteer departments to get like the full gamut of tests in their physicals, which is going to significantly increase the cost per person on these physicals.
Unfortunately, we're probably looking from going about $200 a person to probably closer to well over $1,000 per person. So there are benefits and trade-offs. They are catching some things earlier, but it's also not cheap, especially, just
35 members.
35 members, and that's $35,000. That's pretty steep. So
We haven't been given total, solid numbers on those yet, but the EKGs that they want to require and the blood work to catch cancers and things like that, those are going to be significantly much more expensive to add. But we don't have solid numbers, but we've been told it's going to be in the range of $1,000.
We also just had our parking lot repaved. And I'm sorry, Amanda, that wasn't in my capital expenditures because that just happened. But we didn't get that done, so our parking lot is a lot safer. We got rid of the giant hole that was in the middle of the parking lot. Our drainage has improved. So we're hoping that will be a long-term beneficial thing for the building in terms of maintenance and care there. Any questions so far before I move on to the capital?
Physicals are annual?
Yes.
Biannual.
They're annual, I believe.
Yes.
Physicals are yes, annual.
Question about your 2024 actuals.
Sure.
You had in there foreign fire tax allocation of $10,000. But you haven't gotten the money yet in September. So I was wondering where that number came from.
So, and I actually had to ask Dave Putnam about that because I also had no idea. But apparently because we're a village department, we actually get 2 payments. So we get, the payment that we received was the village portion, and then we're still waiting on the town portion.
Okay, so that was all village money that came, that 10,000?
Yes.
Came from the village.
And
So
what I'm,
So how come then you're budgeting for 25 still $4,000 if you got 10,000 in 24 and you're still expecting more money from the town for 25 in 24?
So the advice that I was given from Dave Putnam was we never know how much we're actually going to get, so to always be conservative with that amount. So I think that we had talked about that 39 before, and I wasn't sure if that 10,000 was the full amount or if that was one piece of the portion. So we can certainly anticipate more, but the advice I was given was to be conservative. So because we never know how much it's going to end up being.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
appreciate that,
sure.
but if you got 23, you got 6,000, 24, you're already at 10. I would think you'd be able to go, well, we could at least expect 6,000 or 7,000.
Yeah, we can certainly.
It's just it just seemed very.
Well, the 10 was something we had never seen before.
Yeah.
It's always
and
been
the
like
check that you're getting
29.
in the mail is, you're probably gonna do the same thing, and we were flabbergasted when the money came in too. It's not it's nothing
we.
But are they gonna guarantee that next year?
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee of it, but at the same time, you can kind of find an average between the two.
Sure, I mean, and I don't think that's, unreasonable at all. I have never tangled with that. I still don't understand how a lot of that works, so
Yeah.
that I was like,
I don't understand that one either.
okay, well, that makes me feel
I
better.
knew it enough to go like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
No, that's fine. Yep.
Yeah, so that was my one of my comments.
Sure.
And I didn't realize the village stuff.
Yes,
That's what we're told.
that's what I was told.
Also, I was gonna ask about the accounting and audit expenses. You budgeted 6,000 for 24 and haven't spent any yet. Are you expecting a bill for your tax return or for something else that just hasn't come in yet?
So yes and yes. So initially when we had budgeted for that last year, we and I think you and I might have talked a little bit about this. We had anticipated that we were going to hit that 300,000 threshold of needing an audit, and now it's since been moved to 400. So we were expecting to need an audit, and we didn't end up needing that. So that's a piece of it, and then the quote that I got from Insero was a little bit higher than I had initially anticipated.
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised by your 25 line. I just was curious
Yeah,
about it.
so when we budgeted that before, I was like, okay, we're gonna be paying for an audit. And then we ended up not needing to do that. So, and then I have also added a stipend for myself for the SAFER grant as part of that, just with the amount of hours that I have already spent and gonna be spending on it. It's becoming, frankly, too much for me to do without having some level of compensation for it. So that's why that got added to the accounting.
And then I ask another question.
Sure.
Maybe you're gonna go to this. You're gonna talk about reserves and then I broke in with questions. So
Yeah.
That's okay.
Capital project, your capital reserves and.
Yeah, we can start. So,
701 actuals are a lot higher now too, because we just dropped it to.
yes, and that's a good point. So Amanda, if you look under 701. So right now it says that our 2024 actuals to date are only about $1,400. We just had to have a whole bunch of work done, unfortunately.
And we have more to do.
Let me find the PDF here. So this is our P&L as of today. So we've actually spent closer to that. So that first line is 701 and this is 702.
We're over on both.
Yeah.
On 702 just got back today from repairs for new air tanks for brakes and all of that. So I mean, just this week alone, we're probably gonna be in the $6,000 range just this week on 702. And we probably got, I don't know, on 701 what that's gonna be. A few thousand more.
So that had not taken place until after I'd already submitted that, so. Yeah. Okay. So this was submitted as kind of our capital reserve schedule. So this is something that Dave Johnson put together. So if you see here, there's this only change the blue cells. These are the interest rates that we're anticipating that we're working with. So if you look down here at these planned capital expenses, you'll see 701, 702, etc. So this is what the purchase cost is. This is when we purchased them in the year, and then this is the interest rate that we're expecting. Not always what ends up happening. And then this is the first year cost. So this is when we go to replace it the first time and then a second time after that. So for instance, so we're replacing a 701, which is our main engine this next year. So if you look here in 2025, so here we have last year's anticipated budget. And then if you go down here, this is our reduction from our capital reserves for the payment of the truck. So I just want to make two comments about the spreadsheet before I go any further. One, we had not, when we had submitted this, we had not subtracted out the amount that we paid in for the parking lot, so that came out of our building reserve. And the second thing is that this line here it's not in half years, so when we're anticipating our interest income from New York class, it doesn't ends up lining up as far as our total balance is a little bit off because it's not accounting for the partial year income. So at the beginning of the year, we're going to have $1,230,000 and some change, but we're going to reduce that by $750,000. And so, but that's going to happen at the halfway year point. It's not going to happen at the end of the year. So the trickle down effect of that half year is not fully realized until like 1 or 2 years past. It's a little confusing to explain. Does it kind of make sense? So when we're expecting our interest income at the beginning of the year, we're taking 5% off of $1,230,000. At the end of the year, it's going to be about half of that because we're reducing that amount. And when we're multiplying it out in this spreadsheet, it's assuming that we're taking the whole amount, the whole year on the $1,200,000 amount. So it's anticipating more interest than we're actually going to receive because we're reducing the amount. So does that kind of make sense? Okay. We are going to be updating this spreadsheet for next year as well, just because with the changes in interest, the prices and everything, we need to kind of revamp this. So this is where the amount that we've requested came from, because if we're looking down here, so we adjusted our expected interest rate for the trucks to trend upward. And I mean, you guys have heard this. The trucks have gone up at an astonishing rate. Nobody really can keep up with anywhere from 20 to 30% inflation. The truck that we are purchasing next year has already gone up
from 750,000 to 1.1 million to 1.2 million
just in the year since we've signed it. So this is our best guess estimate. So we're expecting that our next truck that we'll have to replace is going to be 702, which is our heavy rescue. And we're expecting it to be around 1.3 million that we'll need to replace it at that value at least. So if we don't have that amount, so take in mind that we have not accounted for the building, the parking lot coming out as well. As soon as we get to 2029, even without accounting for the parking lot, we're already under about $50,000. And that just keeps going down the line as we adjust these numbers for inflation. What we have coming in just can't keep up if we don't ask for a substantial increase. And with the 30% increase in call volume, that's a lot more wear and tear that we're putting on our vehicles. We're going a lot farther. They're having to have more maintenance done. We only have 4 pieces of apparatus. We try to maximize, 5 with 769, but we've really maximized and tried to make our fleet as efficient as possible. We toyed with the idea of our heavy rescue of going to a smaller model, but unfortunately that will lower our ISO ratings. So the people in our district will end up paying higher premiums if we do that because the ISO rating goes down. We've asked for more money from the village. It's not a lot, but with the Schickel houses going in and the amount of activity that we've had in the village since last year, we figured that that's an entirely appropriate amount to ask for.
Shouldn't the increase between what the town and what the village are seeing be the same? If you're gonna ask for 25% more from the town, shouldn't the village be paying 25% as well?
I mean, that's certainly a question. I don't have a lot of interaction with the village, but you know, I'm certainly willing to open that conversation with them because we have gotten more houses in the village.
We sure have.
You know,
We got a bunch more in the town.
yeah, you know, we've had there's new construction going up everywhere.
So is that a no? I'm hearing a mixed response from what I just said.
I'm certainly willing to have a conversation.
We haven't gotten the increase from the village.
Yeah.
As much as we have from the town lately. So when I talked to the village, when I was talking to their mayor, you know, I told them, you know, it's gonna be a significant increase because we haven't got a big increase from the village over time. And they were expecting that because they haven't. And we're not talking a lot of money, you know, we're not talking Dryden money. We're
Talking
we're
$2,000, but
yeah, I mean, so.
But if our, you know, if you're asking for us to make that, you know, we're going to expect the village to jump with us, you know, whatever we're being asked to increase, the village should be doing too.
Well, we were actually asking a bigger percentage from the village than we are from the town,
That's not what I'm looking at.
as far as percentage.
Yeah, the dollar, I mean.
No, unless I'm reading this wrong, I'm looking at a 2024 budget of 309 and a 2025 of 400.
Yeah, that's like.
Right, but if you look at the actual percent of increase, we're asking 10% increase from the town and about 18 from the village. So we're asking for a bigger percentage increase from the village than we are from the town.
And when we had done this spreadsheet, I don't think that we had.
That can't possibly be right. If I'm looking at your village contract of 13,000 going up to 15, and I'm looking at your town contract going from 300,000 to 400,000.
But
how are we saying that's a bigger increase? Somebody's math is off.
Well, I mean, percentage is a percentage, but we're also going from, you know, the distance of us going from Union Street to Main Street is a lot different than us going from Union Street to Etna, and sometimes the farther reaches of that. So we spend more money.
That's not what I'm pointing out. There's something wrong with the math here. It doesn't matter that it's a $2,000 difference. The difference between 300,000 and 400,000. Can we agree?
Yeah, it's
Is
substantial.
a bigger delta than the difference between 13,000 and 15,000.
I agree.
So whose math is off?
So we're at 309,000 last year to 400,000.
30%, 49.4%.
29%.
And you gave the village. It's a 19%.
Okay, how does Dave? I'm gonna have to get back with Dave Johnson on this and how he set up this formula. Because it's a rolling increase, we might have to, I might have to give you a follow-up email about the thought process behind the way that he formulated this. Because he's certainly more familiar with the way that the capital reserve spreadsheets work.
I just have a general question, because I'm learning.
Sure.
It's not a. Because you said the distance has something to do with it, but the overhead is gonna be the same regardless of how far away you're going. So is it broken down between the town and the village based on like per capita or number of houses that you're within your group?
So,
You know, just so I can understand better how that works.
well, I'm also still learning how this works. So.
Some of it has to do with area coverage. The village is 1 square mile. When we cover in the town, we're driving out to Schofield Road's 9 miles. So we're covering a whole lot more area with the town than we are with the village. I'm not exactly sure all of the factors that they have set up and what that difference is.
But, you know.
But it's also a tax, you know, what is the town bringing in for tax to split up between the departments compared to what is the village bringing in fire tax from the village to give to the department? And that's how that's given as well. So I can't answer how they set that all up. That was eons ago. So I mean, I don't have that information, but you know, covering the square mile of the village is a whole lot different than covering the.
If you put 60,000,
in
29,000 in there, do we go back to the same number?
These are fake numbers, just, you know, if
Is it
you had a
counted at
village,
60
it's only a
every year?
square mile, but it has 1,000 structures in it. You would figure it only has 100 structures in it. The village is more of your
Then put 29.
base. I'm not saying that's the
Right.
case. I was just curious how that calculation was historically done. I'm not.
That's what I'm wondering, as if it was counting
Challenging
60.
it.
I know it was, the only thing that I've been told over the years is it's been a tax base. A lot of it's tax base.
Well, the village tax rate encompasses the fire protection.
Right.
And their village rate is, at least for 24, was 418.
Okay.
Well, and the
Compared to
overhead
the
to go out on
village,
the
which was
town is higher.
950, but 950 includes fire, police protection too, for the village driving.
But I mean, there's several factors that encompass that, and I mean, it's set up however it was set up forever ago.
I now know more than I did before, so thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
But the numbers, Dan, the numbers over there, the 24, 25, 26 through on, those are the numbers that we're gonna need to maintain just to keep our capital reserves to be able to replace and to fix things, and, you know, not to mention our building. All of this stuff, those numbers are gonna need to be maintained, or we're gonna be in the red. That's really where we're at in the budget. For many years, Freeville has been over frugal with their money and not asking for enough, and that's not the town's fault. But over the past few years, we're trying to play catch up, since leadership has changed and we're identifying all these problems. You know, all of our capital projects, you know, our SCBA, our trucks, our station hasn't even been looked at. I mean, I don't even know how we're gonna fix or replace our station. That hasn't even been looked at. But we had, you know, expiring SCBA, we had to replace them all. Thankfully, we got a grant. These things were not looked at for many years, and we're trying to play catch up.
I know, but we also can't fix everything in one year if a problem was prolonged for multiple years. And I'll say this, and I say this every year, budgets don't work by giant leaps. They work by increments. And so I have a big problem with the budget that jumps as big as this. And
I agree 100%. But we also can't account for a 35% increase in the cost of trucks. We can't, you know, justify doubling the price of fuel. We can't justify, I mean, all of these things are jumping on us as well. It's just increasing our costs. And to maintain, I mean, we're on track this year of running 500 calls. We run more calls than the other departments in the town, and we have the smallest budget per call. We have to get where we need to maintain just to go to calls.
And we're already looking into options like refurbishing 702, you know, to push this out a few more years. So, you know, that should buy us a little bit of time. You know, some of you might not know this, but, you know, Mike works for Duval, which is a major fire company. He's been giving us really good deals on our turnout gear and things, like he's hardly taking any commission for it, and he's doing it for the other departments in the township as well. So, you know, we're already trying to anticipate and come up with, you know, the parking lot, we paid for, you know, a third of that out of our social funds, you know, from our fundraising accounts, because, you know, part of it, we knew we didn't want to drain the building account of what we did have in there. You know, but we're responding to well over 90% of our calls. You know, we're meeting all the obligations on our end, and this is just an inflation issue. You know, it's you know, it's and with New York class now, we actually have an opportunity to have investment income where we didn't have that before. You know, most of our capital reserves were tied up in CDs, which I think the best one that we had was like 0.3% or something like that. You know, I have stashed as much money as I possibly can into New York class, so that way we're maximizing on the interest income there. You know, but we're getting more members, we're getting consistent members, you know, our numbers, even with the increased call volume, you know, our numbers are improving across the board. You know, and this just to be able for us to function in the state of the economy, just how things are right now. You know, we need the budget to be able to continue to do that.
Well, and the other thing is, when you talk about grants making up for some of the money on these costs. We just got denied our exhaust grant in Freeville, but Dryden and Varna both got theirs, and they have a much bigger budget than we do. And we got denied. So if were to put in an exhaust system, now that's gonna come out of our cap, where it's not coming out of the other department's cap.
Do you have any insight why you got denied?
They said that
They
we
never-
made it to the second round, but just other people scored higher. It does look like there's gonna be a second round, so I'll be contacting Nancy 10K about that. and seeing
That's next year's.
Next year's, yeah.
It's basically a redo and apply for it again next year.
Yeah. So-
But those are other things that you take into account. I mean, that was a $72,000 grant for us that now we didn't get. The $130,000 parking lot was something that we did not account for to have to replace this year.
And did they look at like previous grants? Like the Safer grant would have affected that, right?
The Safer grant should not have affected that, and our regional radio grant that we got a couple of years ago should not have affected that.
But I forgot that I have this as well. So we all buy our radios through the county. So this email just went out fairly recently. I don't know if it has the date on here. This is from the systems manager over at Tompkins County. That the APX 4000 model portable radio that we all use is going to be discontinued at the end of the year. The end of the repair for the radios would be in March 2030. They are being replaced by model N50 and 70, which unfortunately costs around $1,000 more than the 4000 model. So just wanted to let you all know this. So
Each radio goes up $1,000.
yeah.
Right now, portable radio, mobile radio, they're not too far off in price. You're looking at about $3,700 to $3,900 a radio, and now they're gonna go up $1,000. That's another 25+% increase in just radios. So we understand, and I understand 100% what you're saying, Dan, but our stuff is jumping crazy amounts. The prices of what we're having to pay for things have jumped substantially in the last 3 to 4 years. And we don't have any control over that.
Well, how much flexibility do you have with this replacement schedule? I mean, I see that you're putting down what you feel you need in terms of vehicles. And I guess I would need a little more convincing why exactly you have to meet that timeline. So aggressively.
Well, 702 was actually scheduled to be replaced this year. We put that off because 701, which is only 12 years old, has been giving us way too many problems, way too much maintenance. So that one actually is being replaced because it's a lemon. I mean, in talking vehicles, it's a lemon. So that's being replaced.
So it's a 10-year-old vehicle.
Well, 12-year-old vehicle that has had nothing but problems.
Well, it's a 2010, so it's 14 years old.
So it's 14 years old. So we actually held on to 702.
But that's a judgment that you're making, that you'd be better off buying a new vehicle, but.
Well, it was a monetary decision, yeah.
Yeah.
Based on the amount of maintenance that we're putting into it and the amount of time that it's out of service. Because every time that it goes out of service, that's, we can't respond to calls, that's more mutual aid, that's more.
Are you talking as in compared to buying a used truck somewhere?
No, I'm saying sustaining that truck, doing the maintenance on it to keep it running. And I guess it's kind of surprised. So when you say the maintenance is a lot, help me understand what are we talking about? $10,000, $20,000 a year to keep it on the road?
Yeah, well, we're on 701, we're going to be spending that in a couple of weeks on that truck just to fix it. And that's not fixing everything. The springs need to be replaced on it. The paint's falling off, but the trim on the truck is coming apart and the manufacturer won't do anything about it.
And we also.
Is it under warranty?
No.
Well, then, right.
We also just lost the hose that we had with it as well. We lost a substantial amount of that we'd actually taken from the truck previously. So that way we saved money. So we're going to have to replace some of that hose as well. Because we have to have a certain amount of hose.
We lost how many lengths?
We lost 700 feet.
700 feet of hose that was 21, we figured about 21, 22 years old. So that's gone through 2 trucks cycles that hose has lasted, and now it's all starting to go bad. When they did the hose testing, the annual hose testing on it this year, we lost that much hose. That's about $6,500 worth of hose.
So that's why we.
But you wouldn't buy a new truck just because it needs springs or hoses. I guess that's what, I mean, I think of, I've got a 40-year-old car. I got a 50-year-old car. I keep them running. You know, so I'm just trying to figure out why these trucks are so ridiculously cost prohibitive to keep on the road.
Well, I mean, you've got a 40 or 50-year-old car. If that was a lemon from the start, would you still have a 40 or 50-year-old car? No, you wouldn't keep it.
I've got
We're putting a lot of money into this. We just put 2 new tires on the front of this truck because in the state and government's infinite wisdom, you have to replace the tires every 7 years, whether they're like brand new or not. So when you're talking, you know, a few $1,000s for a couple of new tires, the paint was even under warranty. They did not fix it back then. The trim, the things that are on there, we just replaced, what was it? They just replaced today.
Lights, there's
Well,
batteries, there's.
the biggest problem with this engine in particular.
Any vehicle needs maintenance on.
Right, so the biggest problem with this truck in particular is that the water tank is oversized, and it's putting a lot of stress on the vehicle. And the pump system was not a great one. This truck was pitched and purchased well before Mike was chief. And unfortunately, it was not a good plan. So the pump system is really where the majority of the money is going towards to replace it, because it's so internal. You have to tear apart the engine to get in there. But if our pump doesn't work, it doesn't do us any good. If we can't draw a prime on it, it doesn't function as an actual fire truck.
And then coming up again on this same truck, they're gonna have to replace all of the coolant hoses throughout the truck, all the way to the back, and all of the engine hoses on that truck, because there's some kind of a coolant problem with some silicone hose that they used on this truck, that now when the truck warms up, there is a coolant smell inside the cab of the truck. A strong coolant smell inside the cab of the truck that's been going on for years. And they said now the only way to do that is to replace all the hoses on the truck. So we're talking several thousand more dollars to have it over there, to have the engine taken apart, because they have to raise the cab and take all that. This truck is just, it's a monetary nightmare. And that's why that one was chose to replace it first, to get rid of it.
Which manufacturer was that?
KME.
KME.
Okay.
There were 5 of them purchased in the county the same year by the same sales from the same salesperson, and Dryden's is going to be the only one left.
Well,
Everyone
Dryden's
else already
been
got
out
rid
of service for about a month because they can't figure out what's wrong with it.
So all the KMEs in Tompkins County, other than Dryden will have the last one, but all the rest of them have already gotten rid of theirs because of problems. So 702, which is going to be 20 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah, 21 years.
So that one isn't even scheduled now. We're gonna push that as long as we can. But we're looking at 2029 before replacing that. So it'll be 26. Wow, what's the year on that one?
25, I think.
25 years old. So at the end of that life, we can't even sell that truck as a fire truck.
No.
After 25 years, you cannot sell a fire truck as a fire truck anymore.
So your return is nothing.
Is that regulation, or is that a law, or a federal?
It's some kind of
or is it just
law regulation. You can't. All the sales places that we've talked to, they said you can't.
25 years, the truck is no longer.
It's no longer, you can't sell it
as a fire truck.
You can't sell it as a fire truck. So that was the other reasoning in selling and getting rid of 701 at this time, is because to someone that truck is still going to hold value and we'll get money for it. Or when we get rid of 702, that's really going to be no value in it. And just the cost of trucks, it's just insane. It's insane.
Okay, thanks. Got nothing else.
Does anybody have anything else? Dan, you covered everything. I was just looking.
Did you have more to present or anything else you want to add?
That was, I think, the majority of everything that we have, and I will follow up with Dave Johnson. I'll just send a little bit more clarification once I have him explain how that all was formulated. And then if we have, any additional, information, we'll send it along.
I just, well, I know everyone's tired, but one last question, the physicals, so most insurance plans will cover them. So if someone has, if you're a volunteer firefighter, your insurance through your employer or most insurance. Sorry, I am not being coherent. Most insurance plans through employers will cover the physicals. Is that going to help you guys significantly as more and more things are required?
So are you asking if we have a physical done through our personal health insurance, if we can submit that as a physical, or?
That is, no, they still have to fill in the special paperwork, but most insurance plans, the doctors will cover, it covers that for volunteer firefighters. Is there a reason why do you have an idea of how much of a delta of your volunteers don't have coverage, health insurance coverage?
I don't know, and I guess it was a question I hadn't considered. Sometimes the fire insurance gets a little particular about how things are done just because it's all done in-house. So we'd have to reach out to our insurance agents and ask about that. Like if we're having physicals done because we're firefighters, if we have to, front the money, or if if we can explore that route. So
I know my insurance would cover the physicals, so.
The physical done at the station, or if you go into a doctor's office and do a physical, because they're not the same physical.
Either way, I guess, as long as it's an in-care provider. So like a lot of times, I know that there's some groups that they'll contract with like a doctor that's in network for a lot of people, and they'll go and they'll do them, like especially sports teams and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know how NFPA and all of those rate private doctors for doing fire.
Yeah, I mean,
because they are different, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That I don't know.
I mean, it might help out your budget a bit if that's just a hint that it may be something to look into.
And it's certainly a question worth exploring, especially with the amount of money that we're looking at.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's already getting paid for by somebody else.
It would be nice to be able to have some of that, but yeah, I would have to talk to our insurance agent about that and see what options are available.
Yeah.
So.
Which would all be reimbursed. I mean, as far as the cost of the physical is still going to be reimbursed by the fire department, but whatever the insurance doesn't cost.
My insurance would cover it, so I wouldn't pay a penny. So if there's no fee to do it, a lot of insurance companies do that as part, it's just covered by your regular healthcare plan.
Yeah, but I think there's confusion. So if you go to a doctor and ask for a firefighter physical, your insurance covers that?
Yes. Just throwing that out there in case it helps you.
Yeah.
We'll have to look into that. I
Yeah,
don't know anyone that does that yet.
It helps you out at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's specific to plans,
Yeah.
Especially, especially because if they change it to where they're doing blood tests and they're doing EKGs and all that. I mean, is your personal insurance going to cover an EKG and, blood work that's now going to cost the insurance company?
Just suggesting you look into it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
A lot of us have to do it anyway.
Yep.
So just
What's
passing
the
that
question?
along, because I was looking at New York State and they were saying most insurance companies will include it. So if that's helpful information,
Yeah,
share.
that's certainly an avenue worth exploring.
Yeah. Definitely.
Any other questions? No set?
Thanks.
Yeah. Also, thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
No, it's 9, so if you want to skip all the big stuff, we can skip it.
I didn't go to mine.
Unless there's something you really need to tell us.
I have one
Now,
thing.
other than the conservation board drama,
Oh, yeah.
I'm making progress on the rail trail stuff,
I mean,
the easements.
what do they want to do about that? I can't even, about the conservation board stuff with the appointment. I mean, I can't even tell because like Dan had said, the thing's been open for months. They never tell us anything.
Well, I think I might solve it.
So,
I mean, nobody on the guarantee to
right,
renew. This appointment was for Bob Beck's unexpired term.
right,
And it's December.
right.
Right, so it's only for a 2-month term anyway.
They can talk. They can make a recommendation to the town board.
Yeah,
And it's your guys' appointment in the end.
Right.
Yeah, because he wrote back and said that they would like to. I put my notes away. But they would like to make Kate a voting member. As much as they're excited to have Naomi. They feel that Kate's been an alternate for a while.
And Kate wants him.
Yes,
Because
That is
that
what I
wasn't clear from
understand.
my reading of the message.
so. I will double confirm.
Well, should we do that right now, just to put this?
Yeah, but we can't have, do we already have too many members? That's at least for the next couple of months. Is that the issue?
No, we'd move the new person to an alternate and move the person that they want, their alternate, to a voting.
Yeah.
Or we just let them straighten this out in January.
I mean, you don't know who's gonna not read out.
Right, we don't know who may not re up.
Decide not to,
All right,
that don't want.
so I'll take this back as a topic with the group.
Just remind them that the seat expired at the end of the year and really is more effort than it's worth. And yeah. Next time, let us know when they have a vacancy. And want it filled by a certain person.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
And Jason,
and we got what?
I just raised concern committees, the announcement for the Design Connect opportunity just came out.
Yeah, I saw, I said there.
And it's a November 4th deadline for that. So I know there's probably, Housing Committee is probably gonna mull it over. If they can
I
get
will send it to them.
a proposal
I sent the
together,
announcement.
and possibly the rec committee.
Yeah,
So now there's a $600 stipend required for that, and they wouldn't, normally we would come back to the town board for a resolution to approve spending 600. So.
well, I mean, we have to, I mean, we have to meet again and talk about this, and we already had it on the schedule for next. I mean, we talked about next Friday at 2,
Credit too.
so if that's still good, then.
So if they can get something before next Friday, they can do it then.
Yeah, we just gotta add it to the notice. Another business, so if we're gonna need. I mean, yeah,
And are we here or are we at a different location?
no, we'll just meet in the Caldwell room.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We're adjourned.
Yep, we're adjourned.